What up, fam? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. This is HUD Wednesday nights. We got a little Phillies talk for you, but our main topic at hand, Tyrese Maxey. Let's talk about it.
I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you. Let the celebration begin.
Welcome in, everybody. This is HUD Wednesday nights, only on HUD Radio. Every Wednesday night, we are brought to you by our good friends over at Baggio's Bread. New location in Mount Laurel. Go check them out. Use promo code HUD. Get 10% off your order. It's a no-brainer. As always, Greg Milakovic, Luke Brown. We'll see Chrome when we see Chrome. He's always late. You know what I mean? He always has to have an appearance to everything. You may know the guy on the bottom. You may not. But he's an OG of HUD Radio. Goes 4.5 years ago was his last show here on AM and the PM. And we welcome Mike Mataraki back. How fast is this 4.5 years ago, too?
That doesn't feel like 4.5 years. Holy smokes.
I feel like that was like a couple weeks ago.
Craziness. It was like October before the pandemic, and I was just literally running on fumes, had to step away for a while, but hey, when you don't burn bridges, good stuff happens.
And we're back. Let's go. And the Sixers
totally redeemed themselves.
And the Sixers could be back too. Right? We'll talk about them in the main topic at hand, but we'll at the end of the show, Philly's playing great baseball. 7-3 on this road trip. That's tremendous. You know, guy told me earlier, like, they're not playing anybody. So they're playing major league teams, babe. Have you seen some Aprils in the past? I could care less. You could run a AAA team, and they were getting one hit. So please don't tell me on who they're playing. All right, we'll talk about the Phillies at the end of the show. Sixers, Knicks, Game 6 preview. We'll dive into it. Tyrese Maxey saves the Sixers season last night. 46 points. We'll dive into everything Tyrese Maxey. But our poll question for tonight is the Sixers will win Game 6 to force a Game 7. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. That's where we're live. Everywhere you get your podcasts, we're there as well. Hit the like, subscribe, follow. Officially over 10K on YouTube. We thank you all. Keep them coming. All right? Ain't nobody mad about 20K. All right? Can't wait for a 20K post. So let's go to the poll question. It'd be typical Philadelphia 76ers to absolutely either lay an egg in this game or just lose. One or the other. Which I guess laying an egg would be losing. But,
Doesn't it happen on their home court all the time?
Always. And we're tired of it. But I agreed that they would force a 6 just because of the way the NBA is and how they almost want somebody to go a little deeper. So what's better than a Game 7 in Madison Square Garden, and especially for TV revenue? So I'll go on the TV revenue side. I don't know if I even believe in anything with the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know where I stand. As of 2 days ago, I'm dealing the big fella for the first time ever, and Mike's known this because he's been with me for a while, that was not even a question and that you could ask me ever, and I'm there now. I'm there, but I say that, feel free to smack me in the face and go win this series, and that conversation we can put to bed for another series. But I'm going to agree. I mean, the way I feel like they stole somebody's lunch money and hearts last night, and go capitalize that again. Go force it to be a Game 7 in Madison Square Garden because all pressure shifts to the Knicks in that situation. So I'm all for it. I agree. What do you guys say? Family out there? What do you guys say? We'll continue to go through reasons on why I agree, but I still think we're the better team, even with a one-legged Embiid. So, listen, Jalen Brunson's been fantastic. Let's get Pomsy with him tomorrow night. And we need Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid to be unbelievable again. I mean, even though Joel didn't do it scoreboard-wise, he sure as heck did it in the stat sheet. When you roll out a triple-double in a postseason game on one leg, I'll take it. Absolutely. And he's a big reason Maxey gets those shots off, too, that nobody wants to talk about. You know, Maxey don't get those shots off without Embiid screens. Let's call that one. Paul Reed screens. That ain't getting that separation. So it does matter with him on the court. Not saying Tyrese Maxey won't hit shots without Joel Embiid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he matters to our offense, but we need a big one out of him. And it's a legacy game. You want to talk about legacy games? Your whole Philadelphia legacy as you went, and sorry, now I'm going around. Now you went and you won the love affair in New York last night. Can we stop it? Can we stop it? They're the enemy right now. You don't need to tell me you have a place there and it's your favorite city in the world. Shut up, because now I really want to trade you. Now I hope you lose a series so I can officially just say, wrap my head around it and say I'm moving on from my other son. So it's a legacy game. I'm looking at you. Wake up, Joel, because we need you tomorrow night in a big way. There's my rant. That's it.
Yeah.
You have not changed one iota.
No, that hasn't changed at all, right, Mike?
My body has.
Oh,
And he did this also after, criticizing our fans too, right? Like before that he go praise New York. Like, yeah, come on, Crump.
I didn't think about that too, Greg. Yeah.
I think there's a method to all this madness, though, Greg. And
there always has been with him, right? There always has been a method to his troll and his antics.
He always plays better when he's the victim or the villain.
Yeah.
Always.
You're
Absolutely.
right. You're right.
To the poll, though, I'm going to disagree. This is what they do, though, right, Tommy? Like, we sat here on Sunday. We were ready to trade him. Season was over. And then what do they do? Maxey hits a 35-footer to push us to OT and then dominates OT. Like you said, Mike, Joel's now the villain of New York and has been the whole series. It's just they pull us back in, and I'm not willing to come all the way back in yet. I have a feeling that we blew our load in New York, right? That was our game to say, hey, we're still here, but at the same time, it just delays the inevitable. There was a lot of, the game that I watched, especially in that second quarter, where Joel was legit hurting the team while being on the floor, right? I know they're an absolute dumpster fire with him off the court, but they were almost equally a dumpster fire with him on the court. Like, yeah, he had a triple-double, but he was, one turnover away from a quadruple-double, and not a good quadruple-double. And that's
still a good one, but not the fourth one you want. Yeah.
So Greg,
I'll disagree, but I'm hoping, obviously, to get a Game 7, because who doesn't love a Game 7 in any sport?
So, Greg, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but you know me. I like to dig, second layer deep on the stat sheet. And for me, the most most underrated stat, I think, in the NBA, especially come playoff time, is plus minus. And if you look at the Sixers plus minus last night, who led the Sixers in plus minus? Joel Embiid. He's a plus 14. Even when he's not making shots, even if he's turning the ball over, he draws so much attention defensively, and he's such a presence in the middle on the defensive end of the court that, even when he's shooting 7 for 19 like he did last night, and like you said, almost had the quadruple-double if you put his turnovers in there, I mean, he's still the guy.
Yep.
So I don't disagree with anything you said. I think last night was the game where Tyrese Maxey graduated from star to superstar. I mean, Maxey from the logo, like that's Steph Curry stuff. And at that point in the game, I mean, that's onions. So if they can bring that back out, for Game 6, I mean, they have a fighter's chance. Absolutely. Do I absolutely see them forcing a Game 7? No. And it's simply because of what we talked about earlier. It is one of the most Sixerist things to do is to drop a Game 6 on your home court.
Yeah, we read this book a lot. We've read this book for a long time. Luke, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm going to disagree too, and mainly because we were on last week going into Game 3. I said no shot would win the series. I'll just continue the pessimistic side. But I'll also say this kind of reminds me of the Miami series when we lost that. We had Harden in that middle of the season trade, and it was his first run with everything. And it felt like every game we kept saying we were the better team. And then we got to this point where we had a Game 6 at home to force a Game 7, and it was heartbreak all over again. It kind of feels like the exact same, and that's scary to me. I feel like the same exact series, Jimmy beating you, Jalen beating you, same exact kind of thing. I refuse to put any hope and confidence into this team, even though Tyrese Maxey gives us a whole bunch of reasons to feel confident last night. And more than that, even more than that, gives us confidence for the next window of time that is to come after the season. So I'm going to disagree, but it was still cool to see that last night.
I want to say one thing about your disagreement, and maybe like try to play devil's advocate to it. When you said it's similar to the Miami series, it's spot on. But my devil's advocate to it was, this is the first time in a decade that I've seen toughness.
Right.
This is the first time in a decade in Game 5 that I've actually saw this team fight. Right? Because Tyrese Maxey is part of the team. So, right? So it's not like we saw a fight from somebody that's not here. It was Tyrese Maxey. It was the rebounding. It was the little extra things that you saw. It was probably arguably Tobias Harris' best game that nobody's ever talked about. Right? We saw the same things Tobias said after Miami series, is this team lacks toughness. Well, so do you. But at least he was tougher in most postseasons, though. We saw him be tougher defensively. This postseason has been a train wreck early on for him. But this is his best game to date in the postseason. But when you look at it, we've never done that. We're never the team that steals somebody's heart, rip it out of them, and quiet, 30K or whatever the Garden sells out, right? They sell out a sellout Garden and all the celebrities and his fire, his energy, right? We're an energy city. We believe in it. I believe in it as a coach. It's what you can control. But after that shot, it was he's officially becoming a star in this league. That's like a kill shot to become a star. And look, this is my coming out party. To do it in the mecca of which is Madison Square Garden. It's the first time I've seen toughness. It's the first time I've seen this team respond, because that game's over. That's over. It's a wrap. It was over. It's done. In the fourth quarter, it's over. It's over there. Right? It's over. And for him to put a team on his back and carry them like that down the stretch and make the shots he did, it's truly remarkable. It's truly remarkable. And who am I to say now it's going to be the same old story? I opened by saying it. We've been down this road, but I want to believe something different for once. What's the fun in going into tomorrow night like it's a wrap? Like I believe it deep down that it probably is, but I don't want to yet. I don't want to. I'm not ready to trade him. I'm going to, but I'm not ready to trade him yet. Get over a hump. Do it on one leg. I don't give a shit about the injuries anymore. I feel bad for him, of course. I care about the migraines and everything that he's getting. Sure, okay? I'm a human being. But the other side of it is I'm tired of it. It's every single year. And we'll talk about it more, but and hopefully not for another couple weeks. Chrome, agree or disagree?
Yeah, I listen, I agree to the poll for a number of reasons. We're talking about this series and how close it's been. The Sixers have a 2-point advantage in this series. So any of these games could have gone any way. Game could be over either way, back and forth. And to your point with the toughness that we're talking about, I mean, not only has it been the toughest team I've seen in the last decade, it's the first time I've seen Joel Embiid have a legitimate number 2 who can come in and perform in the playoffs. And I know that there's times where Maxey, it seems like he shot them out of the game a little bit, but I'll take a guy who's going to take the shot over the guy who's going to drive the lane and drop the ball in a playoff game in Atlanta any day, or a guy who's just not going to show up. I think the thing about a win like this, it's a momentum shifter. This is the kind of game that can rip the heart out of the opposing team. If you come out on your floor, we all know, you win a Game 6, anything can happen in a Game 7. I'm not going as far as saying I think this team's going to win a Game 7 by any means. I don't know what's going to happen there. But do I think this team could come out? Do I think this team has momentum right now? And another thing I saw where when I look at Joel, right, and we're talking about, was it good enough? Was it not good enough? The one thing I did see was a guy who finally had confidence in his wingman, who deferred the basketball when it wasn't his night and put the ball in Maxey's hands and let him go out and take that game over and bring it home for them. And we haven't seen that kind of confidence in anybody who's been here during the Joel Embiid tenure.
No, we didn't see it in Game 4 when he took ill-advised shots in the fourth quarter consistently with no energy and no lift. We watched it, right, to your point. Like, we just watched it the last game where me and Greg were on Sunday screaming and yelling about, like, what are you doing, dude? Get rid of the basketball. Trust somebody else then. Be a decoy. We talked about it literally after Game 4. Just be a decoy then. You don't need to be the guy if you can't be the guy, because that's what loses series. That's what loses games when you're trying to do too much, right? And so that's, I couldn't agree more to that.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, though, because Chrome, you make a hell of a point there. I mean, the fact that Embiid only put up 19 shots last night, Maxey put up 30, and think about that for a minute: 46 points on 30 shots. I mean, that's like Kobe territory. I mean, that's real legit. Like that's a scorer right there. That is a bona fide NBA playoff scorer. So, if to your point, if Joel just has to turn over the reins to Maxey and just get them through a series at a time, I mean, anything could happen.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, we've seen it before in series, right? Guys aren't 100%. But if you have role players or if you have a wingman that you're confident in, some of the greatest players have stepped aside at certain moments in the game and let that guy be the guy, right? We saw Jordan. How many times did he pass the ball to Steve Kerr for big shots at the end of big games in the finals? And sometimes you have to defer. And I think that Joel's always had the weight of the world on his shoulders because there's never been somebody that you can have faith in to be the guy to pick up the bag. And I think Maxey has proven it this year. I think he earned a lot of respect from Maxey, even despite not winning a ton of games when he was out. Maxey came in. I think that rough stretch, I think, helped with his growth quite a bit this year. And, this might be the game that we go back and we say this is where the tide shifted. Maybe at this point in Joel's career, he's the number 2 and Tyrese Maxey is now moving into the number 1 slot, which guess what? A-okay. He could still win titles that way. You're still a Hall of Famer. He's put the numbers up. If he has to defer to a younger,
let's be real for a second here. I mean, if this dude's healthy, it ain't Tyrese Maxey's show ever.
No, I'm speaking in general though. But he's not ever healthy, Tom. So
no, we're talking about in April. Yeah, he's never healthy, but usually he's healthy for the regular season. My point is, it's never going to be Tyrese's show because of his production, his point per minute, the efficiency. It's never no offense will ever run through somebody who's not as efficient. Is my point. I
agree with you, but Tyrese Maxey also had a few 50-point games when Joel was putting up a point over a point a minute this year, which again I think builds his confidence in the wingman. Again, we haven't seen this in the Joel Embiid era, and it does give me some confidence that if you do move off of Joel, you can build around Tyrese Maxey. He's not quite there yet to be the guy night in and night out, but he's making an argument to get there for sure.
Getting closer.
Something about this situation I was thinking about. If you look at this team over the last, call it 5-6 years, right? Anyone that they have brought in here to be a number 2 scorer, they've brought in from the outside. Whether it was Tobias, Jimmy Butler, they tried with Simmons and that was a bust. But I feel like Joel will defer to Tyrese because he's had Tyrese under his wing from the beginning. Like, Tyrese was a Sixers draft pick. He's Joel's guy. It's not, the mercenary coming in from another team at the trade deadline or a big free agent signing. I feel like Joel's willing to give up the ball to Tyrese because Tyrese has been there in the trenches with him and Joel knows what he can get from him. I mean, and Joel's a guy who had a 70-point game this year. So, let's not act like he's Al Horford or something like that. I mean, no. if he can actually get healthy and show up, I mean, it's huge. But Tyrese has got to be the carrier right now.
No, he does, especially with him on one leg, right? He's got to be more of a decoy and he's just out there. John, I love you, brother. You're my guy. I don't know how you could say it's the dumbest thing ever. Like, I mean, there's a lot of dumb shit out there. I don't know how we can make the case that this is the dumbest thing ever presented in like the history of sports, that we're going to trade a guy who's never healthy in April for 45 straight seasons. Like, I don't know what else you want. Like, I'm the biggest Embiid guy there is, but Johnny, you got to at some point say, all right, I can't wear this jersey anymore. It's time to move on. Like, at some point, you got to take the posters down. At some point, you got to say enough's enough. Let me get a haul why I still can. Why I still can get that haul. That's all. Listen, I said, go get out of the second round, and we're not having the conversation anymore. It's not a conversation.
Facts.
It's that simple. Like, you don't want it to be a conversation, John? Then he needs to get over a damn hump, and then we can move on from it being a conversation. But until that happens, and if you get knocked out and you get bounced in the first round against a Knicks team that you know deep down you're better than, because the reason you're getting knocked out is because he's on one leg again, how many times are we going to do it? You're going to tell me you're going to go sell tickets for next year when nobody believes in April? Who's going to watch in November?
Knicks fans.
I mean, I will, but and I'll believe it. I'll buy into it again. Here's Tom again. Here he is. He's got the Kool-Aid, and look at him. He's wearing all Sixers gear all year long. Here he is, and then bang, something's going to happen. I mean, I couldn't have been more like excited, like he got hurt when he did, and I was like, oh, perfect timing. He'll be healthy when the postseason starts. That's cute. That aged well. I can't do it anymore to my Sixers' well-being. This franchise deserves better than playoff dysfunction, right? Playoff collapses. We deserve better. This is a basketball city, and we haven't got nothing but Allen Iverson, right? And practice, and then Joel. That's what we've gotten. Think about that.
Look, Daryl Morey has traded James Harden not once, but twice. If you don't think he'll trade Joel Embiid for the right deal, if the Sixers can't get over the hump, it's not as far-fetched as people think.
Yeah,
no, it's not. Unless you bring LeBron in.
For me personally, though, it's not that I think it's far-fetched. I believe that there's a definitive argument to have over it. But I actually think that the emergence of Tyrese Maxey can give you a little bit more faith because, listen, if he's not on the court, that's a different conversation. And then for any team, if a player's not on the court. But if he's not 100% and Tyrese can pick up the bag and he just has to go out there and get his double-double or triple-double, maybe it's 19 instead of 35 points, and they can win series, that to me, he's a difference maker in a way that almost no other player in the league is. And maybe it may be than any other player because Jokic don't play a lick of defense. Anthony Davis is night in, night out. You never know what you're going to get. Some nights he's amazing. Some nights he stinks. There's no player that's at his level, even when he's not 100%. And that's fun. And the other
that's
thing,
hysterical.
And it does give me confidence too that they can go out and bring in a third star this offseason.
LeBron.
And I would be on LeBron in a heartbbeat. I would.
I don't want the third star talk, and that's why I'm kind of playing devil. I know it is, and I'm dreading it already. I'm dreading it already.
Out on all of it.
Take a look around the NBA right now. The prime way to win, the way you structure a team, is through 2 stars and a great team around them. That's what Denver does. That's what kind of the Celtics do, but they're kind of different in that they're all kind of like elite level role players, and they don't all need to be with the ball. That's kind of a rare case, but that's how you win now. So when I look at it, I understand your point, and you want to return investment, especially if you don't, want to keep putting in the fact that he'll never be healthy in April. I see that side of it, but my point is that I look at the box score right now. You have 2 guys, albeit he played horrendous yesterday for most of the game. You have 2 guys averaging a combined against a really good defensive team around 65 points a night. The problem then lies who are around these guys. So I don't want to see this summer a Paul George. This team is, it probably will, but this team is not missing a guy that's going to put up 20 a night. This team is missing defenders and guys who are going to make open shots, and it's as simple as that. And that's why I'm not really dying to trade Embiid, because you have 2 really good star-level players officially now, and then you can build a team around it. Trading Embiid, there's no guarantee that you even get a star in return, and who knows how long you're going to fight to get a star back anyway. Maxey, I love him, and he's great, and you made the point, Tom, earlier of how good he is with Embiid on the court. We were I believe 11 or 12 games below 500 without him. I'm not dying to trade him. I get the argument, but as far as I'm aware, we have 2 stars. Do the best you can to build around them. Don't bring in another guy making another $180 million like Tobias and regret it again.
This is where I get both sides. I get okay, why would you keep him, right? I get reasons to keep him. I understand that, and what you can go out and do, and all the other things that you can bring to the table, right? You can go get a bunch of great role players around them and do it again. And Maxey can take some slack away from him. I get all that. Or you can go out and get LeBron, or you can go get Paul George, and you can sell the fan base again. I understand that. But what nobody's getting is when you're paying him that kind of money and he's never the same guy in April, that's all that matters. You aren't defined by what you do in the regular season. That's not basketball. There's guys with 5 rings that are big shot guys. They're named Big Shot Pop, right? There's guys with tons of rings that are known for what they did in the postseason, and they're role players, right? But the greats of all time are just what they do in April, outside of a few guys. If you're telling me this guy's never healthy in April, and that's why he can never get over the hump, then that's a failure. That's a failure. That's great regular season numbers. That's all-time great regular season numbers. And cool, you're going to get inducted to the Hall of Fame. But when your numbers drop to the level they drop to every single April, Houston, we have a problem. And if you want to play scared, then let's play scared. Because scared's just going back and laying back down and say, we're just going to do it the same way again tonight. Okay, that's scared. It's scared. If I can get it, like, listen, I don't want to get into this until they lose, right? But if I can get a Bam and a Hero, a million picks, if I can get a Chet Holmgren somehow, there's organizations that will literally back up the brink trucks for this guy still, because of what he's going to do box office. The difference is here, the box office isn't going to sell anymore unless you win. It won't. How are you going to then ask any Sixers sale rep how they're going to spin this one? And then they're going to have to go out and they're going to have to get a LeBron, or they're going to have to get a Paul George to put the sell season tickets. They're the only two ways. You're not going to go collapse, per se, not get out of the first round, and then be able to sell on a run back. There's no way. Now you have to go get another star to sell exactly what Chrome talked about in a way. And we talked about taking the burden off of them in weeks past. I'm not waving any red flag. I think they win Game 6. I'm saying if they don't, that's all my conversation is. If they don't, I really don't want to have it. But if they don't win, what are we gonna do? And I think it's scared to say we have to stay this way.
He makes too much money to be anything but the main guy, right? As you said, Tommy, he makes too much money. And even with nobody on the roster next year, right, outside of the placeholder for Maxey spot, we are, because of his contract, we're tight cap-wise. So it's going to have to be like Luke said, it's going to have to be a two-man show with a decent supporting cast around it, and hope that supporting cast shows up like it did somewhat in game 5 here, right? That was the best Tobias Harris we got. And it was another good performance from Kelly Oubre. But Batum was nowhere to be found, offensively at least, right? And I think the bench only had 14 points total. Now, thankfully, I think that equaled Deuce McBride, and no one else from their bench scored, right?
So 2 guys, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it's going to have to be, because he makes too much money to be just a role guy, just a decoy. Right, it's because that's not going to sustain over a whole year. You could do that in a series where no one knows, in a playoff series where no one truly knows how he feels, right? You could do that for a couple of games, but they watch too much film and they study their opponents too much week in and week out to believe that he's just going to be a decoy, all year.
So, Greg, you just brought up a name right there, and I don't know what his contract situation looks like. But how good would a guy like Deuce McBride look in a Sixers uniform?
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
I mean, like the way Luke was talking, like, I've just been watching him through this whole series, just thinking to myself, like, he's one of those guys that just constantly, you just wonder, like, what if we could get our hands on him or a guy like him? I mean, he would be the perfect role player with Embiid and Maxey for sure.
Like, this is the year. This is the year. You're averaging 65 points from your 2 best guys. We've never gotten that in the Embiid era. Embiid played horrible yesterday. He's still averaging 30 and 10 in the series. We are literally a McBride and like a Caleb Martin away from being up 3-1 in this series right now. Would be up 3-1 in the series. It is like It's a joke. But take your star hunting hat off, Daryl Morey, because that's what's going to set this back another 5 years.
Well, just take your hat off and fire yourself, right?
Yeah, or that too.
Yeah,
Forget McBride. I'll even go for another guy off the Knicks. The guy I wanted the trade deadline, which is OG Anunoby, who's I think would be tremendous on this team. I thought he would have been this year, and he's showed up every game. He's making big shots. He's aggressive on the defensive end. He passes with precision. I mean, that's the type of dude that you could sell me on, Luke, 100%. If he doesn't re-sign with the Knicks, then they would be really foolish not to bring him back or do what they have to do at any expense to bring him back. Man, I would love to have that dude on this team.
We all know how this goes, though. I mean, we've done this dance before, and it's a guy whose name I mentioned earlier, Al Horford. Al Horford killed us for years as a Celtic. We went out and got him. He did squata for us.
Yeah.
He goes back to the Celtics and just starts killing us again.
Like he never left.
Like he never left. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Deuce is no go. He's signed for the Knicks for the next 3 years.
Oof.
But they're
got to deal with that for a while, huh?
But yeah. OG Siakam, if you want to sell me on like running it back per se, then I know I'm not going to get out hustled. And they're two Nick Nurse guys, they're two Rico Hines guys, big part of their development as players. So, they're two guys that you could sell me on that I think make us better. But again, let
me throw another name at you guys, and it's another Nick Nurse guy. How do we feel about DeMar DeRozan?
I don't like his fit with Embiid off the ball. I think we've talked about that earlier, but I'm looking at it right now. There are guys in free agency where I don't want to spend all my money that you spent. That they were all adamant about the trade deadline, which I'm sure they regret now, about keeping that money. So now you have the money, and instead of spending it on a Paul George, I look at a guy. How about you get like 3 Bruce Browns? He's a free agent. How about you get a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? He sounds great right now because so many guys are getting open looks off of Embiid, off of Maxey, and guys like Lowry and Oubre and Batum, they keep on missing it. Could you imagine in a world where 40% of those shots go in? We are dominating this series, and we are far and away the second best team in the East, and I feel good about our chances playing Boston. So I don't want to trade Embiid. I don't want to trade Maxey. I don't want to do any of that. Build an actual team around them for once, and don't get caught up in the big name. Don't get caught up in all of that. It's a joke. They do it all the time, and all these fans will get hyped when they sign him, and it's not going to work again. It's just not how you win now. It's not.
Listen, I don't want to sit here and say they didn't try this year, though. I mean, they got a lot of pieces back, guys who were role players, and then they swapped those. Who knew Buddy Hield was going to forget how to shoot a basketball?
Well, who knew he couldn't create his own shot? That's more important.
Yeah.
I don't have any doubts that he can shoot a basketball, but it's pretty obvious why every other team was just willingly said, "See ya." Yeah. Right? Like he didn't stick in Sacramento, he didn't stick in Indiana because he can't create his own. He hasn't seen the floor in the last 2 games. That's a huge indictment on him.
It's
that
very
whole Buddy Hield thing cracks me up because those Nova guys that are on the Knicks are looking at him going, "Yeah, you came up small in the tournament against us, and we're gonna whoop on you again." And he just takes it. He just takes it and puts his tail between his legs.
It's amazing because he's a guy that you would think would be a perfect fit for this offense when you talk about spacing.
Absolutely, Tommy.
Paper, he looks great. He looked amazing. Looked like he might be the steal of the deadline.
Was not.
He stole the deadline.
A point I wanted to circle back, Tom, back to the poll, right? And I thought it was something you brought up where they only played 7 guys last game, 2 guys off the bench. And that's a lot of minutes on them. And I think Tibbs, as this series is going on, I don't think Tibbs is managing his rotations very well these last couple of games. And I think that's something that could come into play. When you have guys, Josh Hart's a good player, but he's not consistent. He doesn't shoot the way he shot in game 1 and 2 on a consistent basis.
No.
You start overrunning and overworking these guys, particularly trying to play a faster pace than you typically play because you're the slowest team in the NBA trying to keep up with the Sixers. That wears and tears in you as the series goes on. And you see a guy like Maxey, though. You see some of these other guys. You see Oubre getting up and down the floor. I'll say this about Tobias. Game 1 was atrocious on both ends of the floor. since game 2, he's played really well defensively. He's rebounded, and thank God he found his shot last game. It's not for a lack of effort, and hopefully that continues, because at least on the defensive end, he has done a really good job in his role since game 2. So our guys don't seem to be wearing down, other than Embiid, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I look at their guys, and as these games are going on, Mitchell Robinson and all these other guys, other than Brunson, you can see the wear and tear on them a little bit as the game goes on.
This is what Thibodeau does, though, right? This is
It makes
what
no
Thibodeau
sense
does.
to shorten your bench, Greg. It makes no sense at this point.
He's the John Tortorella of the NBA. He wears his guys down all year, and then they don't have enough juice to get through the playoffs.
It's classic Thibodeau. And Greg,
He did it in Chicago, right? I mean, he had good teams in Chicago with Derrick Rose and stuff like that.
Such an anti-Torts guy had to do it.
He blew up Derrick Rose's knees.
Yeah, not only does he wear his team down, but Chrome, to your point, he'll go like he goes with a 2-man bench in the playoffs. And I mean,
they lost
in a game 5. In a game 5, not even a decisive game. Like if it's game 7, go ahead, babe. But
he managed DiVincenzo to the bench after those 3 fouls.
Like, they lost Julius Randle and did not replace him with anybody in the rotation. Instead of running 8, he's like, "Oh, we'll just go on with the 7. We're good."
Yeah, and I'm the fan praying Alec Burks doesn't get a shot at things, because you know how that probably goes for us. He'll probably come on the court in at 25. So I'm
No, he's absolutely dropping.
I said the same thing. He could end up being their campaign and be a guy who comes off the bench and lights a spark under that team. So I hope he keeps running 7 out there.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the wear and tear could benefit us, obviously, like Joel's worn. But, them going 7, now we only went 8. Right? I think the big thing in game 6, what needs to be done, and yeah, Martian, my gears are grinding for Joel. Like, hey, listen, you're not going to have to sell me on bringing him back either, right? Because everybody knows how I feel about him. But I'm just playing the other side of it finally, and hoping that it changes our playoff runs. Right, like me just running him out slowly and keep talking about it. That they'll as a team they'll shove it up my what every game. Even though I'll pick them to win, they'll still shove it up my what, because like, how dare you talk about this, Tom? They're not eliminated. So listen, I hope they do again. But yeah, you could absolutely sell me on him back, right? I'm just more on the lines of like, okay, how many times are we going to do it? Now, game 6. I think the big part is they got to give him breathers. Nick has to give him breathers if we want to win this game.
Do it early. Like, if you can, try to get out to a lead and try to do it early so that, you can run him a little more in the fourth quarter. But, there is a big difference, though, Tom, running an 8-man rotation, a 7-man rotation. That's like 15 to 20 minutes that could be distributed for guys getting a rest. That's a big deal.
With these games being as close as they have been, and we all knew it going into the series, right? Like, obviously, Joel, usually sits that last 2 minutes of the first quarter in through the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second, and he kind of repeats that usually in the second half. But these games have been so close and so tight, and in the playoffs, we are so bad without Joel on the floor right now. We are so bad that when it comes to the second half, he almost feels like that he can't get him off the floor. I just wish he would use the TV timeouts and the time around that a little bit better, right? Like the whistle before the TV timeouts, get him out, right? So you're only missing about 30 seconds, maybe a minute of actual game time. But in reality, he's getting 4 or 5 minutes of rest, right? And that's where I wish Nick would in the second half especially, would do a little bit of better with Joel around the TV timeouts, because those are ways that you could steal minutes without actually getting game time away from Joel, just because of how bad we are without him on the floor.
Yeah, but I think the move that Nick Nurse made yesterday won us the game with, like, I believe it was 5 or 6 minutes left in the game, and Embiid was playing horrendous. And he said it this morning. It had nothing to do with his energy. He called him out and said he wasn't playing well. What happened when he got back in that game? And he might not have been scoring, but defensively, he forced 3 stops, I believe, at the rim back to back to back. And that's how we got back in the game. So that was refreshing as hell as a fan to finally feel like a coach made an adjustment and went out on a limb and said, this is what has to be done.
Yeah, Michael, Bamba stinks too. So, I mean, that doesn't. And we watched Bamba. Yeah, we watched Bombay. Like we watched that train wreck. That's another reason we were a lottery pick team because how bad he was. Listen, he did call him out, Luke. Right? He did call him out for that. I do love that Nick is not shy to call him out, and he's done that. He has no problem doing it to any guy, which I love. But I think part of why he plays like that down the stretch is in Game 4, like he didn't come off the court. Like he can't not come off the court. Like we got to be a little bit smart here too. So I think Nick needs to do a better job of, like Greg said, figuring out when you can use it. Listen, I know we're not as good with them off the court, but they got to figure it out. There's got to be a rotation, and they can run out there. What 5 they can run out there that can compete. And if that's going a little bit smaller, then that's what they got to do. Like Paul Reed don't need to see the floor then. Right? I don't need to see him. See you later because he talked enough and he hasn't done nothing but put up minus 15s every time he's in for 5 minutes. Like that's hard to do. Like that you're that bad out there, right? Like there's that much of a difference from one to the other, and that's why again you can sell me on not selling Embiid because of the impact when he's on the court. I get it. I get it.
Near Johnson level plus minus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's
that word you used there is perfect, right? Compete with him off the floor. I don't expect you to increase a lead, right? I don't even expect you to keep a lead, but don't like give up a lead and then we come back with him in the game down 15.
Minus,
right?
minus 46 in 37 minutes.
That's insane.
Insane.
That's insane. And granted, a lot of that was what, Game 1 or Game 2 where they got outscored 30-12, right? So I get a lot of that's there, but it hasn't gotten much better, right? Like we might not be that drastic of a dumpster fire with him on the court, but it's not much better. And it just feels like they don't compete. Like going back to Tommy, what you said, they just compete, just in anything, compete.
It's weird. It's like they don't know how to run an offense without running it through him.
Yeah,
it's really strange.
And
like
defensively, oh my god.
Oh, we saw that when he was gone, right? During the regular season, like that drop, we couldn't defend. They couldn't defend me or you. Yeah. I mean, it was bad out there. I have no time to watch that. But I mean, there's got to be something they can run. Like somebody brought up KJ Martin. I like KJ. I like his rebounding. He's a guy that I thought maybe would get a couple minutes in the playoffs here and there. Not that he's going to win you a series, but at least he showed the athleticism and the rebound. I don't know why you don't try something else. Like earlier on the series, now you're screwed. Now you build this bet.
They have two guys on their bench that are energy guys, and it's KJ Martin and Ricky Council. And I'm not saying that either of them should get a ton of run, but if you just need 3 minutes of energy, and maybe one of them sneaks in and gets backdoor layup or hits a 3 or something, just to give guys a breather. Maybe play a little defense, force a turnover, something like that. I mean, Tom, you know me, I say it all the time. There's guys that people fall in love with, and at the end of the day, they can't play. And I'm not trying to rest the season on KJ Martin or Ricky Council. But if you got to get a little bit creative, at least there are a couple of guys that Sixers have on that bench that are a little bit competent.
But at this point, Mike, right? What do we got to lose? We've seen every other option a bit, right?
Yeah.
Buddy Hield's banished to the bench. Campaign gets 4 or 5 minutes, and he if he hits a shot, great. If not, it's the campaign experience, right? But what else? I mean, and the Sixers. It's funny you bring up Ricky Council because the Sixers made a big point to make sure that we all knew that they inked him right before the end of the year for a 2-year deal.
Shake Milton contract.
And then what's he, the Taiwan Walker, right? Of those Sixers, just gonna sit the bench the entire year while you made a point to sign him before the end of the year. Like, what was the point then if you're not going to try and give him a run?
Well, Taiwan Walker flat out stinks.
I don't think he's going to save the day, but like you said, energy, a putback, maybe a defensive rebound when we can't.
Greg, the point is like know the series you're in.
Yeah,
every series is different.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about Knicks or you're talking about Miami or you're talking about like those physical teams, like that's the time to run guys that want to get dirty, that want to get their beak in the stuff, right? That's the time to run those guys. What do you like? Again, if he played 35 minutes throughout this series, are you losing the series because of that? Like if you went smaller and you had the bias at the 5, right, and you mix Council in per se, are you losing that series?
Not anymore. No. You already have.
No.
Well, that's why I don't have any issue with them putting Batum out there because he's not scoring, but he's a dog and he'll play defense.
Absolutely.
And he actually knows what he's doing on the floor. He's a veteran leader who can actually like calm that team down and get them to focus.
Listen,
Mike, yeah, go ahead.
As big as Maxey was in Game 5, 2 huge defensive plays, the block at the end of the game and that closeout that caused the turnover with Brunson were just as big to close that game out against a guy who doesn't make many mistakes in Brunson. So I think Batum's a guy they end up bringing back next year, by the way, and I would 100% bring him back.
Oh, he's 35. He's got more energy than everybody. But to Mike's point, you run Ricky out there, he's going to do the same thing. Now, I'm not telling you he's Nick Batum, but I'm telling you he's going to bring you energy. He's going to get palmsy. He's going to get in somebody's shorts a little bit, and that's all you're trying to do. When you're in a physical series, you want to out-physical the other team, right? That's how you take the disparity of offensive rebounds away. That's how you take getting out-rebounded away. Like, that's how you take those things away. Loose balls, steals, different things like that create sparks inside the series, right? They create sparks inside the games. Like, that's why the postseason's so much different than the regular season. Is like, you know, something can change a game, which changes the series.
Yep.
And I'm not telling you Ricky Council's coming out and Scottie Pippen. Nobody's telling you that. But we're just telling you, you're in a physical energy series. It's perfect time to throw a little energy out there.
Well, and Tom,
that's not Paul Reed.
Well, to your point there, though, I mean, you know, we've done the Villanova experience for how long? We know, you know, Jalen Brunson thrives on contact. Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, they need that space. And if you put guys on the floor that aren't going to give them space, and are actually going to follow these guys when they run to the corner to get those threes in transition. I mean, yeah, like you said, get a little handsy, get in their shorts, do something.
That's all you got to do to try
two
win
3-minute bursts. That's all you need.
I think you need that, or you go. I saw Michael said it earlier in the comments. You got to go small. You should pick one of the two. Because to me, what Paul Reed gives you, he's not giving you any rim protection. He's clearly has not. He's been getting out rebounded the entire series. So at that point, at least defensively, yes, I'm giving up something. And that's the point where everyone switches and we're playing a lot of versatile defense, sure. But offensively, I'm running Maxey, spread the offense, spread the entire floor 5 out. And that is borderline impossible to guard. So defensively, yes, I'm a liability. We're giving things up. But offensively, scoring-wise, you're not going to give up that much of a lead with that because Maxey's going to play well in that offense at a pretty high level, you'd think.
So Paul Reed's giving you ungats, so pull him right off the floor. It doesn't bother me one bit.
I mean, he stinks. I mean, he always, in my opinion, he always has. Nothing's changed here. And he's getting exposed in the postseason, and he's a guy that does have energy, but he has no offensive game whatsoever, right? Unless it's a rebound, tip back of some sort like that. Right, or an oop. He's got no offensive game. So, and we're seeing that. And obviously his defense isn't good enough. And these are the reasons why he didn't get on the court last year with Doc. As much as I don't like Doc. Here's reasons. Exhibit A. Here we are. This is why Paul Reed cannot play in the postseason. It's not just Embiid coming off the court. Like somebody said, Andre Drummond. Yeah, that deal was good as done at the deadline, and it fell through last second on their end, not ours. So, that would have been different. And revisionist history, but they obviously knew that Paul wasn't going to be good enough in the backup role come the playoffs. And we're seeing it. And thanks, Slayer, for Super Chase. Let's carry an example. He was talking earlier about, super teams, defending champs, the Nuggets. Joker's the best player, but in closing time, it's all about Murray. He's the closer. Yeah, no. And he was talking about Embiid and we
were talking earlier about Embiid deferring to Maxey at the end of games and stuff. Or when he's not scoring, yeah.
Right. I mean, Maxey's not Jamal Murray yet, so.
Yeah, they're pretty good, though.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. really good.
Yeah. Joker and Murray are pretty good.
Yeah, those two are pretty good, but it goes a lot further than that.
Yes, you're right. Porter is really good.
Porter and Gordon are studs.
Right.
Just as long as Porter's brother is nowhere to be found, I think they're going to be all right.
Well, Michael Porter Jr. is what Tobias is supposed to be for us.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny, though, how teams take chances on guys like that in the draft, right? Oh, back. But and listen, they there's a bunch that miss. But when they hit, they hit. Like I look at
Tyrese Maxey.
Tyrese Maxey's one of them, yes. But I look at the NFL, right? Peyton Willis going to Peyton Wilson going to Pittsburgh, right? And then that TJ Tampa went to Baltimore, right? Those are two guys that everybody passed up on, but those two organizations go, bring them here. We'll fix them.
David Schilling says he guarantees they're winning tomorrow. What's up, Derek?
Guarantee talk.
I'm looking at it right now from the stats from last year's title team, the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr., who played a role on that team, a heavy role on that team, he averaged 13 points a game. So you don't need to go out and get the Paul Georges and all these big name guys who you think are going to put up 20 points a night. Like what he did was he got 8 rebounds a game. Mm-hmm. And tell me how valuable that is in this series that we're in right now. That's more valuable than Paul George could be 100%. We win 2 games.
I'm at level 2, right? You don't need to go to level 1, Luke, but I think you need to play around level 2 when you talk about what players you want, right? Because I think Michael Porter Jr. falls in that level 2. I think if he's the guy by himself on a team, he's dropping 24 a night, right? When an offense runs around him. So I'm looking, that's where I go to the Siakams of the world and the OG Ananobis and like more level 2, level 3 guys that I think can still pick up the slack and still have a game to them, right? And not just be like one-dimensional, right? I'm not just looking for a three-point shooting specialist or certain things. I'm looking for well-rounded basketball players. That's the only way that I put a supporting cast around him. Like Siakam, you need a guy like Siakam's a perfect fit because he's the guy that can put up 30 a night if he needed to, right? But in a lesser role, how much more valuable is he? How much more defense do you get out of him? So there's the things that can go, or here you guys got me selling, bringing it back.
Flip-flop.
Flip-flop. John said I was flip-flopping earlier. I'm not flip-flopping.
Yeah,
I'm not out because I'm watching. I'm here. I'm watching every game. Nobody left. Nobody left the Wells Fargo besides 2000 Sixers fans. I'm here. I'm here, and I'm excited for Game 6 because I think it's a game that we can, I'll say, steal too. Because at this point, you're stealing games. You're trying to steal, even though it's home. We talked about it. We play like garbage at home half the time.
Yeah.
So there was a comment that went across a little while ago. I think it was Tristan. He asked if is the process a failure at this point, and I promise you that's an entire show all to itself. But somebody had actually asked me the same question on socials the other day, and what I said was, you can't say that the process is a failure until Embiid is gone and this team doesn't have a championship. If they win a championship with him, it's a success. If they trade him and get enough pieces to win a championship, it's a success.
Absolutely.
The only way the process is a failure is that if he's gone 3, 4, 5 years and they still don't have a chip.
If you go to a rebuild after you move on from him, that's a whole. I mean, you're basically hitting the reset button at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think they would go that direction either.
I don't think they will.
Because when you trade them, you got to match money one, and then you're getting a load of picks back. So you're getting impact players with Tyrese Maxey. So it's not like I said, like just using Bam and Hero. I'm not crowning them, but you're getting like legit impact players to go with Maxey. You're automatically not a lottery team. That team right there with those 3 would not be in the lottery. They wouldn't be if they're all like healthy. Obviously, that guard play would be a pretty nice combo to go with a guy like Bam who does everything, all the little things, right? Not Embiid for sure, right? You're not getting Embiid back, but that right there sort of puts you in a direction where is that a rebuild? No, that's not. I'm not telling you we're going to be in Boston, but who knows? We have a really good coach, right? You add more pieces around that. Now you get really deep, Luke, right? Yeah. Now you start talking about how deep you are, and that can win too. So there's other ways, like Luke said, to win. Now, you don't just need. You can win with 1 star. You don't even need 2, right?
In alpha like
You need an alpha.
Yeah, you need an alpha in the room. But
AKA what Tyrese Maxey could become. And maybe last night was the start of that. But let's go win game 6.
Yeah, let's do it. It's also impossible to be a rebuilding team as long as you have a superstar on your team, like Maxey too. So that's another point. It's borderline impossible unless they trade him too, which would be tragic. I don't see that happening.
Martian, yeah. I mean, maybe I would complain about.
Well, I don't know. Michael Beasley said the other day that Bam Adebayo is the only guy that's ever beaten him 1-on-1.
I think you'd be complaining a lot more about Tyler Hero. I think he is a bona fide
100%.
I'm totally good without him on my team. I'm real good.
Oh, he just hasn't found a shot he doesn't like, of course. Yeah, I know about Hero, but you got to take some of that back, right? You got to. It's the price of doing business that you gotta match the salaries, which is stupid.
I'm finding a third team. I'm not even considering trading him for.
You believe Jimmy punched him?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Me too. I totally believe that. People are like, that's fake. I said, that doesn't sound fake. You missed that one too. 7 for 28.
That's so good. I don't even like Jimmy, but that's so good.
I don't know how. There's something wrong with you. There's literally something wrong with you. The only guy is I don't like Jimmy Butler. How could you not like Jimmy Butler?
Is this news?
Haven't like there's always something wrong with me. I haven't liked him from Jump Street.
Craig doesn't like anybody.
This is true.
So how about those Phils? First team to 21.
It's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. All right, anybody got scores for tomorrow?
Yeah, I got one. I'm going 108, 102 Sixers.
High scoring game.
At home.
for this series.
I do. I think it's at home in a game 6. We do get a little bit more high scoring. If that game was on the road, absolutely not. They're not breaking 100 on the road.
I'm going 113, 104 Sixers.
Oh, you're going higher than me.
Yeah.
Blowout City.
Maybe I'm drinking maybe I'm drinking Spellman's Kool-Aid over here. He's calling it a Tobias 20 spot.
Oh, well, I mean, I just had 19. Could use it though, right? To win a game at home like that, we're going to need another good performance from Tobias, and you're going to need another performance from Kelly Oubre.
You need your role players to do what role players typically do in the NBA, and then show up at home.
Yep. 104.99 Knicks.
Something about this show always gets me to flip, so I guess I'm going to do it again.
I knew I liked this kid. I knew.
I will say, I'm watching earlier. Austin Rivers made a really good point, and this is the only reason why I'm holding out hope. He was on that Clippers team. They're up 3-1, and they had a 20-point lead at home. And when that thing went south, 3-2, 3-3, he has to go back for a game 7, and the whole locker room is in shock of how they blew that. So maybe this is a case of the same thing because of the way they blew that last game. Who knows? I'm going to go 102-98 Sixers. Why not? Screw it. But deep down, I don't fully believe that.
Listen, to your point, I saw something where there was a very, very close comparisons to the 95 Rockets team that went down 3-1, came back and ended up winning the title in round 1, came back and won a title that year. Where a lot of parallels to how our team has performed compared to theirs. It's not impossible.
Look, that's funny because I had 102.98 as well. Sixers. They scored 96, I think, the last game here, the Knicks, or was it 98? That was like a really low scoring game. Game 4 here, right? It wasn't game 4 where Brunson had a big game, but they didn't get any production.
They got nothing else
anywhere else. And I sort of feel that again here in game 6. And can we just score enough? Right. I think it's the first team to 100.
So Tom, it was funny because we were joking earlier about how it would be like the Sixerist thing to do would be to win that game on the road and then come home and play game 6 and lay an egg. And we've seen that story so many times. But wouldn't winning this series just be like the Nick Nurse thing to do?
Yes.
I mean, because that's just, I think the one thing that I think we're not doing is we're just not giving this guy enough credit. I mean, and it's kind of funny to me because he's a guy, when he was a coach of Toronto, I hated him. And now he's our coach, and I'm like, yo, he's legit. And it would be an absolute like Nick Nurse, lay it on the table and show you how big it is to come back and win this series.
Well, and I think the other thing too here, right? Everything was focused on what can we do to contain Jalen Brunson, right? Everybody else went off. Well, you notice now Brunson's kind of being given some of his opportunities here, and it almost seems like they're more focused on taking all the other role players out and saying, if you're going to beat us, do it yourself.
Yep.
And
you better score 60.
And that's become and it's become so much more of a competitive series on the Sixers end. They've rebounded better. They've obviously, we saw what Nico Batum was able to do the other night, stepping up and making big plays on the defensive end. And he's making mistakes that Brunson doesn't normally do, because I don't think he gets challenged enough. I think people just kind of, they focus on, not having a Julius Randle there helps out with that too, because you can close. They're missing their number 2 guy. You let the number 1, let him do his thing. You want to go get your 42, 43 points. Sounds great, buddy. Let's let the rest of the guys. Let's see Hart and McBride beat us again.
Well, that's what Nick Nurse said after game 1, right? When we all thought that we were, and I think we all still do think we're the better team, right? At the end of game 1, he was like, no, we wanted them to take those shots. They just hit them, right? We're going to bank on them. Like, a lot of what we did defensively was what we wanted to do. They just ended up making the shots that we kind of would have liked them to take, right? So to your point, I think this series is playing out, except for a couple of games where it turned really sour. It's playing out the way the Sixers probably wanted to, right? Let Brunson cook, but make sure nobody else does. And for the most part, except for game 1, nobody else really has. Yeah. Josh Hart's been under 20. DiVincenzo's been under 20 every game. McBride's been under 20 since game 1, right? So outside of game 1, and I think the difference was they just went in. It's been probably what they drew it up to be, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I could do without Brunson getting every call too.
Yeah,
when he initiates contact, like he's starting to become a hate the face guy. And I've liked Jalen Brunson. I've liked his game, but you're really becoming a hate the face guy, bro, because you complain about everything, and the fact that you get every call. Where Tyrese Maxey is not getting these calls, and I'll say it again, he's better than Jalen Brunson. I don't care. You can tell me all about Jalen Brunson's a very good basketball player. If you think he's a star, you are misguided. Watch his game. It's a slow game that gets every little bump and whistle there is. He literally went into Embiid. Embiid ain't taking up his space. Embiid's in his space. He goes into the body, which you're not allowed to do anymore, supposedly. Goes into his area, right? And that ends up not only being a foul, but we get a flagrant 1. You initiated the contact on somebody that's not in front of you, that's side by side of you. That's like the whole emphasis the NBA put in of not allowing players to do that anymore. And that play not only gets a foul call, which should have been a foul on Brunson, right? But it gets a flagrant 1 on top of it because of the smack to the face, which I get. I'm not arguing the flagrant 1. Like they made an emphasis on that too. It's funny, you make an emphasis on that, and now you're gonna, here we go, we're gonna stand by this. How about you in playoffs too, when you make an emphasis of not going into somebody else's space, the defender's space, and getting calls, the James Harden effect? Okay, don't let Jalen Brunson do it then. I'm going to fire up at 11 o'clock at night, having to watch this slow man's game get 45 whistles a night on stuff that isn't even foul worthy. Knock it off. Why my guard, who's flying around the country, nobody can stop him, he gets smacked around like nobody's business and gets no calls. Like he's too fast for you to call fouls on. It's almost like he's too fast. Like these guys can't keep up. All right? Then go get computers then. All right, and if the NBA, if they want to start, they better not go to the freaking monitors 45 times in the first quarter, too, when you refuse to go to the monitors under a minute. So I don't want to see another monitor besides under a minute in a basketball game. Goodness.
I'll even go as far as to say, I mean, it's not even just driving the lane. I mean, how many times have you seen him, do like a pump fake and then jump right into the defender's chest?
Oh.
And they're calling that. Like, that was something they really made a point 2 years ago. They said there's going to be no more of that. And all of a sudden, this series, I'm seeing Jalen Brunson getting those calls time and again. I don't understand it.
My superstar ain't even getting those calls on one leg. The best player in the league isn't getting those calls on one leg. So what has he done to deserve those calls? Those calls come with a body of work, man. Those calls don't come because it's postseason and you're a team's best player.
Yeah, well, in the NBA, he's the best player in New York, so they're obviously trying to push the superstardom. I hear you. Because he's the left-handed Trae Young to me, right? He's
Trae moves fast.
Well, that's true when he wants to.
I hate Trae Young, but yeah.
Me too. I hate him.
We knew you do. We weren't. Nobody was questioning your hatred.
I didn't hate it, right?
Jalen Brunson's game has not.
I didn't hate Brunson until he started this series.
Me too. Me too.
I love the guy.
I was a big Brunson guy.
He's going to New York. He's going to be all relevant there, and then all of a sudden we playing, and he's getting all these calls, and I'm like, this dude isn't even getting good.
Yeah, his game has not changed one iota since he was at Villanova. The only difference now is that he gets the whistles.
Yeah.
And how about that game 3? Tom kind of alluded to it. We haven't talked since then. That game 3, that first quarter took an hour long, literally, because you reviewed everything.
Everything, yeah.
Why is everybody in the entire country and every NBA fan just in love with our series? Because it is far and away the most physical. So you, as a league, want to take the physicality out of it to such an extent that you want to review when someone gets grazed in the nose in the first quarter and take 10 minutes to review it. All you guys care about is the integrity of the game. When you'll take 10 minutes to review if someone touched somebody intentional on the nose, but in the last minute of the game, you won't take the time to get a call right. It's a joke. It is actually a joke. And you wonder why when, that outside of, the diehard NBA fans, why you're not getting guys to watch a Tuesday night game against the Hornets. It's because of crap like that.
Jeez, yeah, well, Luke, what an about face from glazing the refs last week. I mean, we're going 180 here.
But I'm sitting there, and I literally felt like a lifetime went by before the first quarter was finished. It was a joke. I think they went back-to-back possessions looking at a monitor.
And if I watch Jalen Brunson lay down one more time like that, like he did with the Embiid play, like you got shot, like my 3-year-old hit me harder this week than that was. All right, that's a graze. That's literally a graze. If Embiid really hit you that hard, you wouldn't be getting back up. That's the thing. And you're going to lay there. And I get it. You want to get the call, but that makes the league even cornier. That makes the league cornier. Then we're giving fake calls. I almost don't give him the flagrant one because you want to lay there and act like you really got hit that hard. Like, you know what? Sikorsky says, we think you're faking. We're not going to give it to you.
Yeah, is there a flop rule too? But that's probably suspended for the Knicks.
You can get a flagrant foul for literally doing a hop step and someone's face is in your direction of the basket. And that is a flagrant foul.
Well, yeah, they overturned that offensive foul the other night on Joel because Mitchell was in his area.
I'm fine. If you want to make it an offensive foul versus a blocking foul, fine. But don't go to a monitor and then review it and, oh, my God, like he did it on purpose. It's such a joke.
I will show my age here. Thank goodness there wasn't replay during the Rodman Lambeer era.
Yes.
Oh, God.
My God. Those games would have taken 3 hours.
Dennis would have been in China a lot quicker.
True.
Wow, Maxey and B combined for 74 tomorrow.
Talk dirty to me, Bill.
Well, that would win you the series or win you the game. That would take you to a 7.
They're averaging 63 combined.
59 for Maxey, right 15 now. For the big guy.
Yeah.
Hey, if he puts up a triple-double while that happens, I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
All right, Bill, one more question, and we'll go to Phillies. How many people on the panel in chat believe the Sixers could have swept? The losses were a fluke. They're the better team, and without a lead or feeling comfortable, Brunson sucks. Going to make history.
Man, it's hard to sweep a 7-game series in the NBA. It's
Boston
real hard.
Didn't even do it.
Yeah, I had 6, so I never thought it was going to be a sweep. I mean, looking back at the games, could you make the case for – The Sixers being up 3-2 right now, absolutely. If you want to do that one, or win it 4-1, yeah, I guess you could give me. I guess I could jump on that wagon, but I would say more of like a 4-2 series win, winning it in 6. I still don't think that New York's too tough to get swept out, and they do have a really good basketball player. So when you have that, you're going to hang per se. Game 2 got stolen from us, so that's where I still believe it's a 3-2 series us. Right, but now you got to make up for that, and hopefully last night, like Luke said, I mean it's perfect. Like when you win a game like that, you find out how tough New York really is. You're gonna find out Game 6 how tough they really are. That's hard to come back from. We're talking about that's hard to come back from when you feel like a game is over and a series is over. Not just a game being over, the series is over with 30 seconds left.
Yeah,
and they come back and then lose that. Right, and then you got a 5-point lead in OT, and they erase that on you too. Think about that. Not only the lead at the end, they come out in OT, guns blazing. They go back up 5, and you're like, all right, now we're going to lose in OT. Thanks for getting us here, and then here we come again. So that's the thing where I was talking to toughness earlier that we haven't seen. Not only can you quit in the 4th, you can quit down 5 in OT real quick too. They didn't. I think that's even a more of a reason. That's 2 collapses from the Knicks in 2 different spots in that basketball game towards the end. That leads me to believe, Sixers win this basketball game tomorrow night.
Well, and I take that back to, they look like they had tired legs. They got that fresh rest going into the overtime. They had a good 2 minutes under their belt. Legs looked tired. Sixers didn't. End of story. And to Bill's question there, the thing is, Bill, yes, I mean, 100%. They could have swept. I mean, technically, if you look at it, we were talking about a series that's, 5 games in, there's a 2-point difference. In fairness, it could be the other way as well.
Yeah.
We don't close out some of these games, and we get swept or we lose 4-1. So, yes, could we have? Sure, but with the way it's played out, so could the Knicks have.
You're also counting – I love Lowry and Batum, but you're also counting on a 38-year-old and a 35-year-old to keep up with these guys who are constantly living around the rim, like around the glass and all that kind of stuff. It's just – it was never going to happen.
No, that's why we go back to playing some of the younger guys once in a while, right?
Yeah.
Giving those guys an opportunity.
Luke, you make a great point, but I'm gonna play the devil's advocate on the other side of this for a second. The reason that they have Lowry and Batum on the floor is because your big guy sometimes only plays with half his brain.
Right.
They actually need players on the floor that are going to think a little bit during the playoffs.
I think they're helping us a lot more than they're hurting us for sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've seen where our big man, for as good as he can be, doesn't always use his head all the time.
Yeah.
And that's strange too, because most of the year, obviously when he was healthy, he didn't miss 3 months. He was playing a lot better, especially like with the basketball, right? He wasn't a turnover machine, right? He was doing a lot better of passing out of the double teams and knowing where they're coming from and knowing when they're coming. Right. And obviously missing a couple months, you probably, you get out of that rhythm and you get out of those looks, and as much as we will, especially we want to trash New York and say how, bad and how much they stink, right? They are a good defensive team and they are very well coached and it's obviously showing, right? So, yeah, I mean, to your point, Mike, yeah, he's back to his old self, right? Dogging a hardwood floor at times. But it was such a shame, too, because he was playing at such a high level on all facets of the game before he got hurt.
Yep, absolutely.
And Greg, that's a great point that he's back there, but it's the same story. It's like when you overplay him, this comes back out again.
Yeah.
It's like when he gets tired, he can't control himself. It's like anybody. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Like, we've all played sports. You play basketball before. You get tired out there. You start not thinking. It's hard to think sometimes, and I think that's what you see. That's why you got it. Listen, if you're as good of a coaching staff as I believe you are, and I praise this staff to be, then you got to make these adjustments to figure out a way to just tread that water for 10 minutes a game because he cannot play 48. You cannot, because you're not getting the same guy. I'd rather give him 30 and be hair on fire and give me 35 than the other way, because that's regular season basketball. It's like he can go out there and just go get after it because he knows he's not playing 48. It's weird. It's like in the postseason, because he's the best player and you need him on the court, that when he runs these runs all game, he falls apart, per se. So he needs breathers because he isn't a small guard playing 48 minutes. It's different. It's just different. He's a big guy trying to do it. That ain't even fair to ask.
And even more so the fatigue. Like, we've watched him long enough now where you can kind of tell when he's going to have a bad game in the first 3 minutes. Like, if he's looking for a three or if he's looking passive, like, I could tell in game 3 that he was going to go off the second he looked to seal Hartenstein, and they reviewed him as a flagrant. That was BS. But, like, he wanted the ball, and he just wanted to stomp on their throats the first quarter of the game. Those kinds of moments in those first few minutes of the game, he rarely has a bad game, ever. But like yesterday, you kind of saw in the first 2 minutes, he's passive. He doesn't want the ball. He's looking for threes. Like, that you could tell real quick, even like before the fatigue kicks in.
Spell says, "Holy shit, just realized Mike is back." What up, Mike?
Yeah, it's only been 4.5 years. What up, Spell?
John says, "Go small, go zone when Joel's off the floor." Yeah, absolutely. He needs to sit down there sometimes. But well, listen, hopefully we have more Sixers to talk about, game wise. Hopefully this isn't it. Hopefully we get a game 7. And if we get a game 7, you can book it. If we win game 6, you can book it. 3 in a row. Who's up next? Let's go. Indiana. Thank you.
Yeah, please.
Please. This is we talked about before the postseason start. This was your way to an Eastern Conference final, outside of getting a freebie with Atlanta back in the day. This was your path towards an Eastern Conference final and out of the second round. And, obviously New York's a good team, so that's not easy. But after New York, and we felt good about the matchup in New York, that's not a lie, and I still do. But now they got to go figure out a way to win 2 in a row, which isn't crazy to think about. These games have all been competitive. There's no reason to think it's not going to be again. The only body who really took it to somebody was us in game 3 to them. In reality, that's the only game that sort of, we beat them better than they beat us in a game, right? Game 1, they were hot, but they didn't smoke us. So,
still had double-digit leads in both halves at that point.
Who? Us?
In game 1.
Yeah, exactly. And we blew.
Yeah, we blew those.
Thanks for that reminder. All right,
so I'm gonna take that as a compliment, because we're an hour and 17 minutes into this show, and he just realized I'm back. It must be a pretty seamless transition.
Spells, yeah.
Done this once or twice, Spells.
Thanks for chiming in, Spells. And yeah, you got to match athleticism with the Knicks for sure.
For sure.
All right, Phillies talk. 7-3 in their last 10, and over their road trip, they come back home. They got the Giants coming to town.
Yeah,
but really great road trip. Alec Bohm's been sensational. Other guys obviously came up big last night, which was a monster coming from behind win. I know it's the Angels, but still, they're closers in the game, and
Major League team. They've been playing hot. They've been playing well. Obviously, they got dealt some bad news, but they had been playing well up until recently.
Yeah, and you get
in
big,
that wide open division.
You get a big homer from Cassie, which you needed.
Oh, so good.
And he needed in a big way. And then obviously Rojas, you get what you get from Rojas. You get a curveball or a slider or something spinning. And for guys that don't have power, you want to spin.
Keep
careful.
Speeding up their bats, right?
Yeah,
Tommy?
Careful. And he was able to lose one, and that's a big win last night. But they've just been playing really good baseball, obviously, this entire month and change.
What's crazy to me, though, is I have no idea how they won this game today. The way that unfolded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last game of a West Coast swing. It's the kind of game where guys should be up there swinging at the first pitch, trying to get in, get out, get done, and get on the plate. Somehow they wind up striking out 18 times.
I was about to say, they felt like it was as many of the times they struck out today.
Yeah, but I mean, I would have thought, 5-6 strikeouts and ball in play on the first pitch a couple of times. But
yeah.
Yeah. Somehow they strike out 18 times in a game on the road, and they win the ball game 2-1. This is not the Phillies team that we know the last 5-6 years. They lose that game 9 times out of 10 before the current crop of guys came in.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it just shows you how shows us all how great this pitching's been.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they've been dominant, and Wheels was again today. Couple blips, but he didn't give up any big innings. I really thought Taylor Ward caught that ball at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Schwarber's back. He couldn't go much further. His back was on the wall. The wall anyway.
Yeah, Wheels definitely didn't have his put away stuff today, but he battled, and I know guys like to give Topper a hard time, but give him a little bit of credit the way he managed the bullpen today. Go to Alvarado in the 8th against the middle of the order, and then follow him with Soto in the 9th, and just hope for the best.
Yeah, and thankfully Soto was able to come through because it was looking dicey a little bit there.
It was.
And you sit there and you wonder, like, man, was that what it was? Was that what it was like when he was in Detroit? I mean, I know they have like 3 fans, Don being one of them, but is that what they felt every 9th inning? Because I was on edge with him in the game. I was like, holy smokes. Maybe I won't blow Soto up like he's a decent bullpen arm now.
Yeah, it was good to get, a really good inning out of Kerkering. Which is so important, especially with Sir Anthony not being any good right now.
And what's up with him, man?
Having trouble trusting him as we should.
Can we just get Kerkering, though, to throw his fastball a little more? Like, when you're shoving 96, like, why do you insist on throwing that slider all the time?
I know it's filthy, right? Like, I know his off-speed stuff just, like, moves so much. I get it. But you don't have to, like, I think so many pitchers do this. They fall in love with it. To your point, they fall in love with the spin. They fall in love with the movement of it. And it's like, man, the best pitch in baseball is a well-located fastball.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's not flat like his. I mean, his fastball's got a lot of zippity-doo to it, too.
Yeah, and I was watching MLB Network early in the season, like especially when the Astros were struggling, right? And Howard Reynolds was saying the same thing about Josh Hader, right? And how the Astros, when Josh Hader was in his prime, he was only using his slider every 33% of the time, and with the Astros, he's up near 50% of the time, right? So it's it's not as effective anymore because everyone knows it's coming, right? And I think you're to your point, Mike, about Kerkering and using some of the other fastballs, everyone knows he has that stupid wipeout slider. Right. But you got to be able to set it up just like Lidge was able to, right? Lidge was able to spot his fastball, and when his fastball was on, we knew no one was touching his slider because they had to be able to sit there and handle 96 in on the hands before diving out and fish on the slider. So,
and you're spot on, Greg. But the thing that just puzzles me about Kerkering is when they fast-tracked him through the system last year, all we kept hearing about him was he can throw 96, 97, 98, and then he'll change speeds and he'll come with the wipeout slider. And then he got to the majors, and all of a sudden it was slider, 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 slider. Let me spot a fastball. Mm-hmm. Like, why did his entire pitching philosophy change?
Well, his didn't.
When he got to the majors.
That's the thing. His didn't. And you know why it is. You got a bunch of dryer sheets that love spin rates.
Yeah, well,
right. I mean, that's what it's came to. It's came to a bunch of guys that love spin rates, that went to Harvard. Cool story. Study analytics. Like, this is what the game's become. Sadly, all right. It's a game that I do believe that numbers matter for sure, right? But like, it's become this Rapsodo spin rate, movement on pitches, which is obviously what you want. You want great movement on your pitches. But it's like organizationally, not just here, but all over baseball, they fall in love with it.
Right.
And I think that's what happens. Like, these guys call pitches and like, oh, it's a wipeout slider. Like, we'll throw it all the time. Well, that's spin rate. It's going to be hard to find the barrel analytically. Shut up.
Come on. And the five of us on this, on this show right now, every one of us knows major league players can hit 99. You still can't be afraid to throw it.
No, you spot it. right? You set people up. Like that's what pitching's called. Like pitching since baseball was invented, pitching was to set somebody up. You're throwing a pitch to set up your next pitch. That doesn't mean that pitch doesn't get hit. And then, oh shit, can't set up what we were going to, right? The next one won't work, but it's all setting up. It's taking shots and pool, right? Like you're setting up for your next one. And, I don't know why that went away. And it became, like I said, spin rates and, how hard can you throw, which is important for sure. But
you talk about it all the time, right, Tom? When you're a kid and these kids are developing, right? They want to get right in and learn how to throw curveballs and everything else, and they want to throw as hard as they can. Most important thing to learn right out the gate is location. Learn how to spot your ball. Learn how to hit your targets. Once you start to do that, as your arm develops, your arm strength, your lower body develops, and you get that drive, then you start to learn the other parts, the other things. And you're not putting wear and tear in your arm as a 13-year-old. And then again, as you get older and you learn your body more and you learn your mechanics, then you can start integrating those things in, become a more effective pitcher, I think, in the long run.
Well, Tommy, you were talking about just the way that this staff has been, right? And if you look at this staff, I mean, Ranger Suarez right now, far and away, probably the front runner for Cy Young in the National League right now. But
it's our guy, Mike.
Right.
That takes us back. That's AM and a PM guy, Ranger.
That is an AM and a PM guy from back in the day. But if you look at Suarez, I mean, his fastball's topping out at 94. And Chrome, to your point, he's not throwing a ton of sliders and curves. He's literally fastball, changeup, but he does it all with mixing speeds and changing location. And he's become so ridiculously good at it.
No, and I think there's a lot of pitchers that we've seen over the years. I think Verlander was a guy who, as he started to get older, he realized, listen, can he put a throw back or cock the arm back and throw a little bit of heat? Sure he can. But these guys, as they get older and they start having arm trouble, like I always look for my team, the Cardinals, Adam Wainwright was one of those guys who he had like a 2 or 3 year real tough stretch. He always had the breaking ball, but the fastball just didn't have the zip. And then you have to start to learn how to throw with movement and find your spots. And to the point you guys made, when you can do that and you can deceive the batters, I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. You can have almost like a renewed career, like a Verlander, who again 2 or 3 year stretch, he looked like he was done long before he went to Houston. When he was still with Detroit, looked like he was falling off the edge. And he figured it out. Some of these guys got to figure it out sooner. Ranger Suarez, again, we talked about it last year, Tom, right? We talked about Nola. We talked about Wheeler. Did they have the guys, the horses behind those guys to support them? And Suarez, he's shown it in the playoffs the last couple of years that he could step up. And it's great to see now this year in the regular season him stepping up to show he's a real bona fide strong 2 or 3 in this league.
Maybe even a 1.
He's pushing a 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is we've seen glimpses.
Year, but I think
it's safe to say we've seen glimpses from Ranger Suarez. We have not seen 100%. This type of consistency.
Yeah. No,
and if he doesn't win a Gold Glove this year, it's a travesty.
Yeah.
He is absolutely the smoothest fielding pitcher I think I've ever seen.
Ever. All time.
And he probably only missed it last year by a couple innings.
Yeah.
Because I know he missed some award by literally I think less than an inning. He missed some award because he was missed time by an inning of work.
But I mean, you just look at these last 2 games though. Just the contrast between, you get 2 home runs in the 9th inning last night and win a game you had no business winning. Mm-hmm. And then you wind up coming back today and you win a 2-1 game. I mean, those are the kind of games that division champions win.
And especially the way they played out, right? You jumped out to early leads in all 3 games, gave them up fairly late too, especially last night, right? You gave it up late. And then I was talking to another group chat, what do we think those odds were if you had a homer parlay of Castellanos and Rojas?
Go to the bank.
Go to the bank right now. Right? I think Castillo alone at minimum was probably in plus 800, right? Castillo just singularly was plus 800. And then Rojas is at least double that, right? So you're probably plus 800 and plus 2,000, you just call it. So what's that work out to be? 36 plus 3,600 plus 4,000, right?
easily.
That'd be a killer parlay if you would have hit that, right?
Yeah, and listen, I think that's the difference between this team now as opposed to years past. I know on a lot of shows, particularly on Sundays, you guys have talked about lately, the Phillies having a strong April, which we haven't seen in a long time.
Facts.
And, can you win a division in April? No. Can you lose a division in April? Absolutely. And
Absolutely.
These are the kind of games, right, over the last couple of years where you say, games they had no business win, or games they should win and they haven't won, where they've blown them. They're not doing that this year. And that's where, to what Mike said, is absolutely right. That's what makes a division winner. That's where, yes, you can't win it, but you can lose it. This is what's going to keep them in, and this is what's going to give them an opportunity to win this division against a really tough Atlanta team who year in and year out seems to win these games early on. Mm-hmm. These are games the last few years that they have lost. And you say, well, they don't have their legs under them. They always start slow, and it comes back to bite them down the stretch. This year, it's not been the case. And it's
how many years?
It's good to see.
Chrome, you're spot on. I mean, Tom, Greg, we used to joke about this constantly back in the day, but how many years did we hear Charlie Manuel talk about hitting season?
Yep.
Like if the Phillies could hover around 500 until June, and when the weather got warm, it was hitting season. Well, now Chrome, to your point, if they can get to June and there are 15 games over 500, and then hitting season rolls around, and this team actually starts swinging the bats, good things are going to happen here.
Whether the ball starts to fly, absolutely.
This is why great pitching is so important for these months, right? Go shove. And that's what this staff's done. That's what most of this bullpen's done. And then the biggest thing is you have an MVP candidate too. So not only do you have a front runner for early on, right, very early on, but a front runner for Cy Young. You after the first month, some change, you got a front runner for MVP too, and that's Alex Bohm. And his development as a hitter has been fun to watch from day one till now. And I think he really had a chip on his shoulder the way he finished the postseason. I don't think everybody gets those chips on their shoulder. I think he had one because he's a better hitter than he hit against the Diamondbacks. I think he knows it. He came up with some big spots, didn't get it done. You can see the response. Kids always had a response since I hate the seventh place, so I love the seventh place, so I'm just going to go rake. And that's all he's done. He's got better defensively. Every little thing you can ask for from a young player, Alec Bohm's did. And now he's turning himself into, the big elephant in the room, Greg. Bold prediction early year was top 5 MVP candidate, right? I believe he has that ability. He's not Ronald Acuna. I'm not telling you he is. I'm just saying that he has the ability to bat 330 one year. He just has it. He's that pure of a hitter, and I like that they haven't really changed him, right? We just fine-tune him. We get him better at what he does really well. You see, so many times you get a young hitter, they want him to lose 40 baseballs. Let him be who he is, and that's a natural, pure hitter. And in today's game, batting in your 4-hole. I just want to riddle everybody that. Your best contact guy is batting in the 4-hole. Your best average guy is batting in the 4-hole. It's another really good, Greg doesn't love to get Topper credit for anything, but I think that's a really smart thing he did with this lineup was getting JT out of it and put him in the 5 and putting your hottest player and arguably your best hitter. And, Harper's fanboys can come running at me. I love Hart. But this is the best pure hitter on this baseball team. Pure hitter. Not telling he's better than Harper.
And even take it a step further, right, Tom? Because Alec Bohm was one of the keys that we talked about, and then Trey Turner's been hitting really well, right? We looked at the offense, right? We knew what the pitching had to do. We talked about Wheeler doing what he does. We needed Nola to come in and kind of, I don't want to say justify the contract, but come in and prove why they gave him that deal, and rightfully so, right? But the thing offensively was Trey is too good of a hitter to be the guy we saw last year. And we knew that. And he's come in this season, and he's done exactly what you needed him to do. And he's picked up some guys who haven't hit as well. And on the other side, we said either Stott or Bohm has to be one of those guys to step up and take the next step. And, you guys mentioned Alec Bohm. I thought it'd be Stott, but you guys said Bohm, and you were spot on it. So far, month of April, tremendous start for him.
And it's still, and Stott can still be that guy, right? He showed
absolutely.
He showed some flashes of getting out of his funk in San Diego, right? And then of course now Topper sits him tonight. So Him and Rojas swinging the bat well, Marshy swinging the bat well. Yeah, let's sit him down. Let's sit him down against a super hard lefty to face. I mean, it's not like he would have done any better than striking out 18 times like the rest of this lineup did. You know what I mean? But hey,
every time he does it, Greg, every time this guy does, I'm not a Topper hater, right? I can question every move, every decision. We could do that all day, right? That's what makes baseball fun, right? But at the end of the day, every time, like somebody come in there and say, hey, Rob, I actually have numbers that back the other way because your numbers doing it this way, it ain't good enough. Because every time I try to go righty centric, I get mowed down. Yeah. Stop doing it. Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott are two of your best hitters in your lineup. I don't care if it's a lefty, if it's a righty, if it's a goddamn ambidextrous guy they bring out of the bullpen. I don't care. Those guys need to play 150. You write them in the lineup for 150. I'm not telling you there ain't scheduled days off. I'm telling you 145 to 150, nothing left.
Well, if Topper would stop making his lineups 4 days in advance, maybe you wouldn't have this problem. But
it's old man syndrome. You got to make it early.
Let
me just get this done.
I'm gonna forget to get these guys in the lineup.
He does though. Mike's right though, because he brings it up in like pressers, like be like, yeah, we had this one planned out. Like, what'd you say, bro? Like, so we have no feel. We're not doing any feels. But maybe that's early in the season too, which I will give that to. Like, I have no problem you doing it early, but listen, baby, when you hit middle of June, there ain't no more. Like, if Whit Merrifield ain't hitting, he ain't playing. That's how this works, right? If Pache stinks, he stinks. We don't need to give him some run for a feel-good story, right? Marsh, Rojas, and play.
Yeah, talk to Schwarb on the way to San Diego and told him he was getting a start in left field in Anaheim. 6 days later.
Doesn't it feel like he has to tell you he talks to his players sometimes? Like I got a relationship with this guy. I would hope so, Robbie.
It's like Doc Rivers. He loves doing
Don't do this. Don't do the Doc.
I mean, I won't take a shot, but I might as well. I went there already. How about the fact that, the Dame thing, he gets hurt, and the first thing he tells the press and the media is it couldn't be his fault, and he had to tell everyone right out of the game that Dame is probably hurt, and he had to be a liability because God forbid it's your fault, and God forbid other people think it's your fault.
Dude, you're spot on. I mean, that dude became a guy that I really thought was going to hold people accountable here to the biggest loser.
Me too. I thought the same thing.
The biggest loser of all time.
Hold on, I think Austin Rivers just joined the chat to defend Daddy.
Well, he can defend him, I mean, as he should, right? As he should defend Daddy. But, we thought we were getting a winner, and we were just getting a guy who just complains. It's amazing. It's everybody else's fault.
Don't look now. Must win Game 5. Our two guys, Paul George and James Harden, have a combined 14 points. They're down 23. So there you go.
Well, the funny thing is, at one point in this city, we had Doc Rivers and Joe Girardi, and we thought we were we thought we were set because these guys had pedigree, and look what that got us.
Bust out the champagne. Let's go. Let's start walking abroad now.
You guys are so right because we were like, I'll coach everybody.
But for the stat heads out there, because you guys had also mentioned Trey Turner. Yep. So at the end of the game today, Turner ends the game hitting 336. Bohm ends the game hitting 362. First time in 45 years that the Phillies have had two guys over 330 after like 30 plus games into the season. Like it never lasts that long. Not 330. So bottle that. Keep it up.
And that's the Trey Turner that we know, right?
Yeah,
and that's
the one we expected last year.
And he isn't even like really going yet. But he's going average wise. But production, he does have 10 doubles, which is really good. But he only has two. He only lost 2 baseballs so far, right? So he's been awesome. But when you look at Bohm's numbers compared to him, Bohm's 362. Bohm's on base percentage is 432 in Major League Baseball. You're getting on base you got a 432 clip at that. That's unbelievable. That's ridiculous. 30 ribbies already. 30 ribbies. He almost got as many walks as strikeouts.
Bohm's OPS starts with a 1.
Yeah.
I'll just throw that out there. Bohm's OPS starts with a 1.
Yep, slugging 586.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He's doing everything, and he's got 12 doubles. I said Trey 10 was a lot, right? This dude's got 12. So as good as Trey been, he's doubled it. I mean, Trey's got 9 ribbies in the 2-hole, obviously, right? But 30 for Bohm, obviously he's in the 4-hole. But I said his walks to strikeouts. Like that's when you know a guy's locked in. He struck out 20 times, he's walked 15. In Major League Baseball, where strikeout rates are all-time high, you're talking about a guy that's almost even in that category. That's something nobody looks at that, but like a degenerate like myself and you guys will look at that stuff and be like, oh, that's telling. That's locked in, right? Let me go look at Nick real quick, who's not.
Well, I mean,
10 walks to 32 strikeouts, right? So you see a difference. Like, hey.
Well, I mean, just the picture you're painting there, Tom. You look at Kyle Schwarber's day today. He's 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So he's either productive or he strikes out.
It's amazing. 48 of them. I think no. Yeah, 48 strikeouts. He struck out 48 times in 123 plate appearances.
And yet the guy never sits. Like, talk about a guy that needs a day off.
Yep.
Who? Schwartz?
No,
I was talking about Schwartz. Schwartz struck out.
Take a day off too. But
Schwartz struck out the most.
Give the guy a day off one time. Like, we want to sit all the other guys, but this guy's like kryptonite.
Yeah, I don't agree. I wouldn't give Nick a day off today.
No. I hear you.
Today's the day where I don't do it, even though he went over. Right? You can't. He hits a homer like that. You got to run it back out. But I couldn't agree with you more. Like, let Nick breathe. It's okay. Like, baseball's about a reset, man. Sometimes just take a breather. It's okay. Like, it's not. If a guy, listen, we know I don't want anybody on my team not wanting to play. Right? These guys all want to play, and I love it. I love it that they're going to tell you, no, Robbie, I got to play. Right? I get it. But at some point, you got to protect the player from themselves for a second and say, hey, Nick, I'm telling you, this is what's best for you for a day. Just breathe it, right? Just breathe it because you're not seeing anything. Now, he's been seeing stuff a little bit better, but like you're not seeing nothing.
Yeah.
But I agree with that.
Circle back on Schwarber, though. I mean, the thing with a guy like him, right? Low batting average, like you said, it's almost like an all or nothing type of deal. He's got the 4th highest on base percentage on the team, though. Like he gets on base, he finds ways to get on base. Is he a high strikeout rate? Sure, but he's also got over 20 walks this season. So he sees the ball, he finds ways to get on. I mean, he's just one of those anomalies on this team that he just fits this lineup so well.
Yeah, 21 walks, Chrome, the 48 strikeouts, not terrible in that ratio.
For what he is as a hitter, where a lot of power hitters strike out often, he walks a lot more than most power hitters, though. And like you said, particularly in the leadoff spot as well, or hitting second, wherever they rotate him in, he still finds ways to get on base even when he's not hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Greg, did you just say he's your prototypical
leadoff?
Yeah, he's reminded me a hell of a lot of Willie McGee and Mookie Wilson.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Good old Ricky Anderson.
Feels good, boys. I gotta tell you, like, so yeah. Luke, this is when me, Tom, Greg, and Chrome start talking like baseball. Then we're off the rails because we'll be here till 2 a.m. If you got a final tomorrow, just go to bed now.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
this was literally 2016 to 2018.
But Mike, the difference now is we actually get to talk about what's being played at the major league level. And not have to go over the top 10 prospects in the organization over and over and over again. Because when we were on the air, we had the worst.
We had nothing.
We had nothing. This is great. Like, we're talking in May. We're talking early May. Look at us. Look at us. Like, what do we do with our hands? Yeah, what do we do? Because early May, we're talking about a team that's 21-11, playing great baseball, and a roster that's loaded, and a pitching staff that shoves. I mean, it is glorious. And I know people say, like, oh, as a fan base, we don't really get going until June. I disagree with that when they're playing baseball like this. I fully disagree with that. We go in a lull when they want to lull it. When they want to lull us to bed, we'll lull to bed too. But when you want to come out and play good baseball, we will show up, and they've showed up. That's the other side of it. Against bad teams, we've showed up. So, credit to the Phillies and credit to this fan base for showing up through terrible weather to start this year, obviously.
Yeah. And typical Philly, though, right? Like, we're playing as good as we are, and the Braves are still right there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Braves are still right there, and we just
got a half a game lead on us.
I know. Like, we just can't get away from them, right? Like, they lose Strider, and they're like, "Yep, Marcell Ozuna's going to light the world on fire offensively," right? Like,
do you know who I am?
Thought of that, right? Who had that on your bingo card?
There's a great meme that I just can't post because I just worry about like never having pages again. But it's like it's the Marcell Ozuna one, and it's classic. I'll send it.
Oh
to you guys.
yeah.
You
when
probably
he slid
saw it.
over.
No, it's even more than that. Like Braves fans support like a guy who like hits his girlfriend and drives drunk or something.
Yeah.
It was something like, yeah, we're not gonna post that. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
But
Or
see,
his,
I get the premise.
their
Tom,
best player.
to your point though about where we are now to where we used to be, like it's ridiculous because we were talking about Alec Bohm when he was at single A, and JT Realmuto was a product of a trade from Sixto Sanchez, and Sixto Sanchez was a guy that 7 years ago we were in love with.
Can't trade him.
And Sixto looks like he ate six toes.
Yeah, he did. Definitely had a good time rehabbing from that Tommy John.
He definitely enjoys Miami all-night buffets. Holy
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, Don.
Sixto became a we'll drive you to the airport guy real quick. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Don, we've been around for a long time, baby. I know you're in every show. Don's the best. We love you, Don.
He's a resident Detroit fan over here.
Yeah, resident Detroit fan, and he shows up in here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Don. I took an unnecessary shot at you.
Greg, give me the next 7. Give us the next 7. We'll run through them before we get out of here tonight.
Well, it's San Fran. I know that for 3, starting on
Toronto
Friday, and then I think Toronto.
Yep.
And then next weekend they're down here in Miami. And I am at least.
I love how he says they're down here in Miami.
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah.
Rub it in a little more.
Yep. It's been a pool every day this week. It's cool. Yeah. So we got 4. Wow, they wrapped the weekend with San Fran.
Wrap around.
That's strange. Yeah, wraparound time. 4 here at San Fran, 2 in Toronto, and then next weekend here down in Miami.
Wait, Friday to Monday?
Friday to Monday.
Oh, okay. That's new.
And then start next.
And then what? Off day Tuesday again or Tuesday?
No. Tuesday, Wednesday, Toronto, just a two gamer.
Okay.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Miami.
So 2 off days coming up here. They got tomorrow off day?
They have tomorrow and then next Thursday, yes.
Wow.
Well, the crazy thing is after that, though, they have that weird series.
I was about to say that, Mike. Yep.
Yeah, they have to play to make up for whatever's going to happen home versus away when they go to London.
Yep.
But they have 4 against the Mets, 2 in New York, and 2 right back here.
Yep.
Which is, you don't hardly ever see home and homes in Major League Baseball.
No, very rare.
What are we doing? Okay.
But it's because it's only a 2-game series over in London.
Oh, that's right. The travel day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Well, that's not the London, but that's to make up for those games because it's
Right.
only 2 games over there.
And then what? In London, each team is a home game. One
Yeah.
game over there.
No,
Yep.
It says here on ESPN it says Phillies are home for both of those, but it might flop. It might, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But
Well, I think that's why
Friday,
it's 2 and 2, right? They just sandwich together as a 4-game series back to back, and they
This
instead of
next
having
week,
2
yes.
3-game series, they shave off a home game from each team.
right.
Yeah.
So it's Friday on Apple TV. So all you guys up in that area, make sure you get your Apple TV subscriptions ready.
So
Nola
the best thing
versus
ever
Hicks.
today, though, is Kruk asked Tom McCarthy on the broadcast. Now, what are you going to do with your day off on Friday, T-Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a treasure.
Kruk's the best.
He's a treasure.
Because I got to stream everything down here just because, obviously you've streamed Phillies, but so I hear a lot of other broadcasts. We low key hate on T-Mac and Kruk. I mean, Kruk's always the best, right? But the play-by-play guy always gets some, shade, but listen to some of these other broadcasts. Our guys do a great job.
Yeah, I've never, T-Mac's got big shoes to fill, babe.
Yeah.
And I never once questioned his ability. I think he's tremendous, right? I really do. I've never, we talk about transitioning from an all-time great, to still be here has proven how good of a job he's done, right?
Yeah.
It ain't I think we had more like disdain for Chris Wheeler because,
Oh, yeah.
and I think Chris did a good job. It just felt like, okay, we get it, Chris, baseball, right? Because you had to tell us all the time, and that's I get it. That's the other.
Growing
that's
up,
a color
my dad
guy's
always
job.
had a saying when it came to Wheelers. He's always said Wheels knows because he knows everything.
Yep.
Yeah, we got it all figured out, Wheels, right?
Yep,
But
Wheels knows.
no, they are really good. So
I mean, I'm a little
listen,
biased.
I like McCarthy. I like McCarthy in some ways. I like McCarthy in some ways. I don't love him though. But you're right, Greg. In fairness, I've gotten the MLB package many, many years. There are a lot of really bad broadcasting teams out there. A lot of them.
They're just dry. There's no humor. And then you get Crucky telling stories of how he's playing pickup games and exhibition games in jail.
Prison.
I remember
prisoners. Oh my God, some of these stories are like, Crucky, are you serious? You're telling this on live air?
My favorite was last year when he told a story. I think it was like the Yingling night, and he's telling some story about taking some girl out, and there was like a shotgun. She pulled up to the house, and someone walked out with a shotgun and started shooting at them as they were driving away. And he loves wrestling. Anytime wrestling is about it. WrestleMania was a big week for him.
He was nerding out with Kofi in the press box, and Kofi was like, "Oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about."
Oh, Crook's the best. He is. He's everything you wanted Sarge to be. Because Sarge told a lot of really goofy stories, but his mix. I'll say this: him with McCarthy makes McCarthy a lot easier for me to enjoy a little bit.
Listen,
all the other teams they
Sarge
put
had
with
to
him.
do would be to not hit on Alyssa Milano, and then he would still have a job today.
You know what else I'm not?
Came into that booth and Sarge just couldn't resist.
He couldn't resist.
I can't blame him.
You know what I also don't get caught up in much or at all? I could care less. You know, I know people get all up in arms and like who's the play-by-play guy. This guy's awesome. This guy's not. Like, I don't care. I'm not watching it for that. You know what I mean? That's just like background noise. I've always felt like it is. That doesn't mean the greats don't make you listen, right? I think it's a difference. Like when it's average, it's just you tune it out a little bit and you're watching the game, right? But when it's like an all-time great, you feel even more of a connection, obviously. Like, you know, Cal is special, right? You felt it. You felt it. And there's, you know, Merrill, you feel it. So there's obviously the guys that
Jim
you
Jackson,
feel that.
Legend.
Jim Jackson, legend. You know, I even say Joe Buck's a legend. You know,
I love Joe Buck.
I do too. I'm on anti-Joe.
I don't
Never been. And that's what makes me laugh is that people are like, oh, he hates us. He doesn't hate it. His job is to call.
Every fan base says that Joe Buck hates him because he calls everything neutral.
He's a national guy. He's not supposed to have a side.
Like he's not supposed to get excited when the team that you don't want to win wins. Like that's his job to have to do that.
Listen, the fans in St. Louis are supposed to love everybody, and I'll take a shot at them on this. But yet you would see in groups and blogs, they'd say, his dad worked here. He should speak better about the Cardinals. And it's like, no, that's not. His dad told him not to do
His
that.
dad worked
His dad told him not to. Literally,
that's what gets you not that job.
Not to do that.
That's what gets you like a high school gig only. We're never gonna let you go above high school because you throw you're way too much of a homer. Like we can't let you call anything. Like, come on, no. That's why he's grown to the level he is because one, I mean, his voice is phenomenal. So no, he does a great job. But I don't get caught up in it.
Greg, to your point there, though, what I was going to say earlier is I tend to get a little biased towards T-Mac because you know. I work with him in the fall, and I understand how good he is.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just – you're absolutely right in the fact that he and literally any one of our analysts are better than 80% of the other tandems in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Sure. And what really cracks me up is when Phillies fans get pissed off when they turn on a football game in the fall, and they're salty because, hey, listen to McCarthy. He's really good at football.
He is.
I mean, he's
good.
He's really good at football.
He's good at basketball. He does a good job with basketball. I mean, he's very well versed, which I think is not easy to do. Right? It almost makes it harder. You know, I'm like T-Mac doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like T-Mac's, you know, all year long. You know, and to be able to do that in jump sports, you know, that says to the levels he can go. Right? That alone.
Well, that was Harry back in the day too.
Yep. I mean, listen, if there was no Harry, I think we would look at T-Mac as better than he is.
Yeah.
Right. I just think when you follow Harry, it's like, all right, you know, he's not Harry, which he's not, but he's really good.
Yeah.
I'm not crowning him, but he's really good.
My beef with McCarthy is
I
personal.
I don't have enough energy for the beef. Like with anybody.
Chrome, it's personal.
Listen, somebody I went to school with I played like fall ball and like on teams with, made it to the major leagues. And when he played his first game in Philadelphia, McCarthy said like nothing on the broadcast. So I tweeted him and I'm like, why don't we like talk about the local kid who it took him till he was starting to get to the majors? He's played really well the last 2 years, and he's playing his first game in Philadelphia. And he tweeted me back that the Phillies fans don't care about that. They don't want to hear about that. And I said, bro, it's your job to educate them. So I got into a Twitter beef with him over that, which is why I'm not. And I think I'm right on that. I had a back and forth exchange because he told me they don't care that the local kids pitching here. I'm like, that's your job to educate them. People, they love that kind of story.
Can I tell you though? Can I tell you the other side of it? I can care less because I had to hear it. I had to hear the whole Houston series. You understand? I had to hear it, and the guy goes and makes the biggest catch we've seen in a long time against us. So I don't need to know about the home kid, the hometown guy, unless he plays here. The argument back. Now he has done a lot of that since your tweet. So I think you got to him. I think he got them because now I hear him. He's always doing it.
I got that beef with him. Like it was like 6-7 years ago.
I feel like he's done it in a couple openings coming in. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we got a guy who might not see the field today, but hometown kid.
But at the end,
Heel Chrome yelled at me, so I got to make sure to mention it.
Listen, it was a little tense, but then we had a couple LOLs. We circled back, but I still have I harbor a little bit of resentment.
Who was the kid? I don't even remember who it was.
Ryan Buchter.
Oh.
Well, I mean, did you want him to have a love
coffee.
affair the way Tommy and Uncle Sweet
He had a cup of coffee.
Smeltzer?
Or gals. You want us to love like how we love gals?
Yeah, that too.
Gals was not happy with us though at the end of the in the playoffs. Sorry for the choking post. We ended up being the ones who choked. So that came full circle back at us. And then we put a choke up about ourselves with Reggie Miller. So it's equal opportunity when you choke. But listen, you know what? We'll leave the Phillies this, and I want.
By the way, Luke, I hope you're having a great time with your uncles over here.
Yeah.
I'll sit back and watch.
Uncle Chrome, Uncle Mikey.
Yeah, I don't lock into the Phils until June, so we'll see you then.
See, he's who I was talking about, right? You know what I mean? Luke's who I was talking about. But real quick on the Phils, like let's hope we can keep this stretch up and keep playing great baseball. Now I forget what I was going to say because we took in Luke chilling with his uncles and it's late. So
well, you said you wanted to go next 7.
Yeah, which I still don't quite know what the 7 is. So because it's not 7, right? It's 6.
It's 6. It's 4 against San Francisco and 2 against Toronto. I go 4-2.
Yeah, 5-1. Screw it. Let's go.
Well, we get Noah, Suarez, Walker, Sanchez. We're going a little 6-man here for a little bit.
As we should.
So we got Noah Knicks tomorrow or Friday. Suarez win. Walker Webb. 30 Sanchez versus the TBD. He'll probably win.
Who, TBD?
Yeah, TBD. Turnbull Barrios, that might be a really good matchup. And then Wheeler Bassett. Those 2 Toronto games are going to be good. Because Barrios is pitching real well for the Blue Jays right now. 5-1. Let's go. Let's go. 5-1.
You know that Barrios thing will last until mid-June, and then he's done.
Oh, he's no hitting us, and then he's going to go into a tail slide. Right? He's like Patrick Sandoval today. 18 strikeouts. Not really all him.
Going to have the Michael Lorenzen effect, right?
Yeah.
It's the no-hitter and then just stinks out loud.
Patrick Sandoval just carves us up today. Yeah.
4-2. I got him 4-2.
Well, why do I laugh when I see the name Marcus Smith pop up on the screen?
I wonder if it's the same guy. Were you a first-round draft pick of the Eagles?
Were you a converted quarterback out of the University of Louisville?
Similar to our 3rd-round pick this year.
Are you a fireman that wants to be an offensive lineman?
Yeah, all right.
We have a job for you.
Last thing before we get out of here, right? I know I had something else, Phillies, but it doesn't matter what it is at this point. But I wanted your guys' grade just before we get out, because I know a lot of you haven't had a chance to talk about it. Eagles draft grades. How you feeling? Did it play out the way you expected? Or where you at? How you feeling? That's it.
5 A+ for me. I thought it was great.
Did you almost go 5-1?
I always said 5-1. Yeah.
5-1 for me.
5-1 or only hits the DN that went to Houston Christian, or only misses DN when it's a Houston Christian, right? Because who the hell did A play?
I said you can reach in the third when you don't reach in the first and second. 100%. I'm a believer in that.
100%.
I'm going A+, and I actually get some Milton Williams vibes from that kid, so hopefully he develops into something. So I'll go A+. Some optimism there, but I'm with you.
Chrome?
I'm going A+. I mean, I hate to be that guy and go, but I mean, they addressed all the needs that really were like the pressing needs, and even just everything that surrounded it. Obviously with the extension of AJ, addressing the secondary. I think this kid's going to be really athletic in their 3-4 hunt. So I'm intrigued to see what he does. And then I saw you put a post out there, Mike, about picking up a guy like a Becton, really hot, and John Ross. Right. Talking about super low risk, high reward.
Oh yeah.
I mean, draft week as a whole and coming out of it is an A+ for me for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, you extend A.J. Brown going into the draft. You have the draft that you did, and then you come out and you're talking to guys who literally cost you nothing if they don't make your football team. Mm-hmm. But if they do, they make your football team that much better.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on, Chrome.
Tommy, like John Ross, too, by the way. Yeah. I really like John Ross.
Tommy, I go A right now, and if Hunt hits, it's an A+. I actually love the fact that they got Trotter, but they didn't come up to get him in like the second or third round. Like there was so many fanboys that were like, you got to go get Trotter. You got to go get Trotter. Trotter was drafted exactly where he should have been drafted, because if he was that good, he would have been long off the board before the Eagles had a chance to go get him. Yep. Like the player, love the nostalgia factor. Give Howie major props for not reaching for him.
Yeah, and give him major props for going and drafting him, because I think the kid's very instinctual. He's got great instincts. He's a student of the game, and I think that matters at this level. I think it matters at any level.
And we love pedigree.
He's a little undersized, but we'll work it.
In today's game,
we love pedigree too, Tom. I know you're like me on that. I love a good pedigree.
I don't hate it. Right? I'm always a fan of Daddy played. You probably have something in you to be able to be good. But when you look at this draft and what you were able to come out with it, I mean, it's a home run A+ draft for me, just because I'm a believer in what you do in rounds 1 and 2. I'm a huge believer in that. When you go get now Mitchell again, because of Toledo, there's a little bit of like unknown, even though he's a guy who was supposed to go top 12, right? I mean, that's where he was listed. So you got to steal. Do I like Arnold maybe a little bit better? Yes. But part of that is where he played too, right? I always give the edge to a guy who's playing at a powerhouse school, and week to week, he's got big competition. So I'll always give that edge. Doesn't mean this pick was a miss out. But when you can get Cooper DeJean, when you got him, that just put this whole draft over for me. And when you go and you address your weaknesses, right, which you knew the secondary was our biggest weakness. And when you come out of this offseason essentially with Isaiah Rodgers, and I air quoted because he was already here, but when you come out with Isaiah Rodgers, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you bring Avonte Bratt back, right? You still have Slay, you still have Bradbury, and then you add these two guys into that mix. It creates a ton of competition, and we know what happens when you have a ton of competition, right? The cream's going to rise to the top, and the best guys are going to play, and I think that makes us even better as a football team. And we're just going from free agency on. I mean, I can't give enough A++ on what he's been able to do, what he's been able to bring in. And this is Howie's season, man. I mean, he's taken big steps forward, not only in free agency, like we've seen over the years, and in trades, whatever, in the draft. In the draft, he's taken gigantic strides. Because he thought, you can't reach in rounds 1 and 2. You need to learn from that. Now, I know, I thought he did a great job going and getting team captains and those types of guys that build his culture, which he's done. Now, this year, you're allowed to go, and it doesn't have to be a team captain. Now, Cooper is, obviously. Cooper, you're getting a leader. and that kind of thing. And I don't know what Mitchell was at Toledo. I mean, I'm sure he was. But, when Saban talked about trying to get him to Bama, it sort of sold me even more on him.
Yeah.
And I'm in. I'm in. You're way better. Listen, if this isn't the best team in the NFC, I don't know what one looks like. So the only binoculars are on one cat this year. And we all know who that is.
Yep.
Time's yours, baby, because you better be a top 5 MVP candidate.
Should be.
Hear that, James Bradbury?
Hey, listen, it's funny you say that, though, Chrome, but if you look at their secondary, and I mean, if you go up and down the roster and you look at all the pieces that they have, Howie's going to wind up flipping some of these guys for even more assets. Because there's guys on this roster, and I'll give you Eli Ricks, Keely Ringo, even Avonte Maddox maybe, that may not wind up making this squad that could get significant playing time for other teams around the league.
Sure.
Like, there is just so much depth in that secondary right now that it's ridiculous.
Well, Mike, think about this. I didn't even bring this up and why I give it an A+. What he was able to do to continuously trade back, to continuously add more assets, and then flip those assets in the picks for next year. I mean, this guy, would you stop it, Howie? Would you stop it?
Yeah,
This is unbelievable.
They were very, very limited with picks next year.
Yeah.
5.
And
now
they
they have
got to lose
9.
some more because Franklin. I can't escape that guy. Just can't do it. Can't do it.
Yeah, he flipped 5 in the 9 and 4 in the top 100 next year.
It's crazy.
And it's funny. I was joking with some of my buddies about the Trotter pick, right? And because all that entire third day, every time they came up, we were like, all right, is this the pick? Is this the pick? Is this the pick? And then finally I went to the guys. I'm like, guys, Lurie finally just yelled at Howie and said, pick him. You can't keep trading back further and further and further. Finally pick the guy, will you? You can't keep running and making sure somebody else picks him. Will you finally do it right? But I agree. It was the perfect spot for him because anywhere else, there's too much pressure on the kid coming in.
Marcus, I think you get an all-pro type year from Devin White. I really do, Marcus.
They need it.
He's playing for a contract.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's playing to stay in the league. Not only just a contract, Mikey, but to stay in the league. And he's only 26.
Yeah, he's a baby still, man. It's another team captain. That's a team captain from a Super Bowl run. I'll take those guys.
A lot of big-time football, too.
Big-time football. Like, listen, I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that move, and I just don't understand why. It's the biggest low-risk, high-reward move they've done.
Yeah.
Now, Beckham's obviously great, but Beckham's never done anything.
Yeah.
Devin White has at least a few years of really high-level football in him, and not even going back to college. So, he's just done a great job building this roster out. And he didn't need to go offensive line early, and he still was able to get 2 guys that I really like late, and they get in the stout when which we know how that can be. And the kid from Michigan, I think, may, when this is all said and done, be your right guard next year. This year. He might start at right guard this year.
No idea how he was on the board that late.
No clue. The amount of positions that dropped, Mike, was amazing because of the wide receiver and quarterback run. I mean, everything dropped. That's how you get DeJean in the second round at 40. Right? There's no shot he's going 40 if there isn't the run of all that. And I think once that happened, you saw everything start to drop, right? Like, the linebackers drop. Edgerrin Cooper's a first-round talent. He's dropping. So then that pushes all those other guys back. And then there wasn't even a run on linebackers until like the third. And as that gets pushed back, now a guy like Trotter ends up maybe being a borderline third-round guy, gets pushed all the way back to the 5th.
Yep.
And how he read the board. I mean, that's the other part of being really great on draft night is reading the board, knowing who's still going to be there or have ideas on who's still going to be there. And like I said, I have no problem you reaching on Hunt when you nail your first 2. And you go get day one impact guys.
I mean, everyone who picked at the top of the draft is struggling in key position. And now I feel like more than ever, everyone's worried about the quarterback, who's getting after the quarterback, who's getting open for the quarterback, and who's protecting the quarterback. And I feel like in all 4 of those spots, we're set. So that's why the board kind of fell that way. And that's where the league is so desperate to get better, especially those teams that stink. So the teams that pick in the late 20s, you're going to get good corners and good linebackers and, running backs, and all those guys are all going to fall.
This ain't even a dream team. This is a super team. I want to be clear to people. This ain't no excuse year. That dream team is a joke. All right, that was a joke. That ain't no dream team, right? This is super team. might be the greatest show on grass that you've ever seen in your lifetime. I mean, the weapons that this football team has at their disposal is ridiculous. And we didn't even get in the defense side. And you know what I mean? I get to start with the offense side. I don't know how they don't drop 35 a game on people, right? Like, I know people get paid to play defense too, but woo.
Well,
woo.
number one has to stay healthy and not play hero ball.
Very true.
Yep.
If he stays healthy and distributes the football, yeah, you're absolutely right.
I do think the addition of Saquon Barkley is going to help a lot with that.
It better,
yeah.
Because I even like the Will Shipley pickup too. I'm a big Will Shipley guy, right? I just like him. I feel like he's been at Clemson for 45 years too.
Did you happen to see my post on Saturday? Who the hell is Will Shipley? Tell me you've never watched Clemson football without telling me you've never watched Clemson football.
Yeah.
Guy's been there forever.
Yeah, and he's all over the field too.
All over. I like everything. Now you put Kenny. You still got Kenny, so you're deeper there. I like that addition. And Kenny's always been a good blocker on third downs. Yep. So you have that. And the biggest thing with Saquon is he's a 3-down back. And when you have a back that doesn't need to come off the field, you don't become predictable. And I think if the RPO isn't added into this offense, it's a crime. It's a crime, and somebody should be arrested. If you ain't running the RPO with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, what are we doing? What are we doing? It should have been ran all day with DeAndre Swift, right? And it wasn't. Was Jalen hurt? I don't know. Nobody tells us anything. It's like the freaking CIA over there, all right, when it comes to giving us any information. But I do know if you don't do it with Saquon, I think you're hurting this offense. You're hurting a piece of this offense that can be so dangerous. Because we say it a million times, boys, a linebacker has to make a decision. Good luck making a decision when you got two guys that are great with the football in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to disagree with you there at all because you're 100% spot on. But the one thing that I'm really hoping that Kellen Moore brings to this is if you're not running RPO, get him under center.
Yes.
Get him under center. Start like making the defense think a little bit more. Play action. You know, there's so many more things that you can do when your quarterback is starting under center. Having him in shotgun for 85% of the snaps, yeah, I mean, it's great if you're running RPO, but, you know, give us a different look every now and then.
Yeah, Mike, you're spot on because, like, I got no problem. Like, if you're, you know, I just say RPO because they're always in the shotgun. It's like, how'd you not run it last year? Because then you said, like, you become really predictable in what you're doing. He needs to get under center, and hopefully that changes. Because this offense is built for a guy to get under center once in a while. It's built off the play action now. Because now, like, defense is like, who are you game planning for? Like, who in your right mind are you trying to stop? Because that's my question. Because the one wide receiver is unstoppable. All right. And our other ones, I said on draft night, he's a gold jacket waiting to happen.
Catches everything.
And Devontae Smith. And then you add Saquon. We don't even got to get deeper into this. Then you add Saquon, and it's like, oh, wow. Good luck.
I don't think enough attention's being put on the pass rush, though, because every good team has that, and we're experiencing now a new era with this where Fletch is gone, Hassan Reddick is gone, BG's on his way out. Like, they need leaps from guys like Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, and they need this guy Huff to be a legit player because as much as he's new and he's young, he's getting paid like one. So he needs to be big time because that's what Reddick was when he walked right in the door.
I think he needs a year. You know, going from Houston Christian, this ain't Houston Christian now. So, but the guy that you need to look at that you didn't mention, Luke, is Nolan Smith. You don't draft the guy in the finesse is where Hallie. I'm looking at you. I love Nolan Smith, right? I love Georgia picks. I love Bama picks, and I love team captains. He has to be impactful this year. He has to be, or that's a reach because my guy was still on the board there, who's another SEC cat that you could add as safety, and you need to do all this other stuff. So you can't not take a guy like Branch there, right? And reach on Nolan Smith and that not be a hit. It has to hit. I have no reason to think it won't. I'm just saying that year one's like, first round picks can't play minimal snaps. You understand?
Same thing with Jordan Davis and Kyle Hamilton. Like that needs to be a boom pick. He needs to be a beast.
Yeah.
Tommy, I could have bet every last dollar you were going to drop SEC somewhere in there. It's the AAA of the NFL.
It always has been. And we've been talking about this something forever.
Yeah.
forever has never changed. He actually bought into us, Mike. He finally listened. He was like, all right, this is Jalen Reagor's of the world isn't working.
Nope. Enough of these smart kids. J-Jaw was a bust.
Yeah. We're not looking for SAT scores here.
Nope.
All right,
no,
boys.
It's not SAT, it's SEC.
SEC. Yeah. Greg, I don't know how he's not done making moves. I mean, what's left for do besides, like Mike said, deal guys, right? Like, start to make those little moves.
Yeah.
As this goes on over the next month or two, I could absolutely see. But either way, we're in a great position. You should be excited for Eagles football. We have obviously plenty of time to dive into that. So now we're banking on a Sixers win, extend the series another game. Let's find the way out of this series. We're to win. Let's find the way out. Starts tomorrow night. Wells Fargo Center. Can't believe I have to say it, but I can't hear a Knicks chant tomorrow night. I need you wound up like it's an Eagles game because this is a basketball city. Mike knows it. Greg knows it. You guys have been around long enough. Chrome knows it, right? We've all been around long enough, and we know how diehard this town is for its Sixers. And it's time to show that tomorrow night because we don't win big games at home. We do not win big games at home. Can we change the stigma? We'll find out tomorrow night, boys. I love a 9:15 start, by the way. I love it. People are complaining. Thank you. I'll play everything past 9. Everything. Start baseball games at 9:15. I don't care. Everything late night. Sorry. I apologize for you early morningers. Still an early morninger. I just, we're just.
You'll be able to watch most of the game, though.
Yeah, I think I get done at 9. So I'll be home by like 9:30, 9:45. So I'm, they'll lose now. You can write that down.
Yep.
Book it.
Okay,
write it down somewhere, guys.
Tom now disagrees to the poll after all that.
No, that not John Malmo trying to call me a flip flopper. I love you, Johnny. I've been known to flippy. I'm a flopper at times, but not in this case. You can flop me on Joel though. I'll leave it that. You can flop me on Joel all day because that's my dude. So it's not like something I want to do. I feel like I'm backed into a corner. Mike, love having you back, brother.
Welcome back, buddy.
Good to be back, boys.
And I think this 5 is elite. You know what I mean? I don't throw elite around, I tell my hitters that too. Like, I don't throw elite hands around. I don't throw those words around unless it is. This is an elite 5. I mean, this is an elite starting 5. That's all I'm going to say, right? We could challenge the Sixers because of our hustle.
I got Toby.
You got Toby?
Yeah, I got Toby.
We're not winning any height records, but we'll drop some buckets.
Yeah, not the tallest group. I might be the tallest guy in here. This is unbelievable. All right, I'm playing the 5. I got Joel. That's fun.
We're going small.
Be a hell of a sumo club at a local community college.
Hey, are we playing half court only?
We got to go zone.
Just take back to the 3-point line, right?
Oh, great show.
All right, boys.
We'll see you next Wednesday, everybody. Hopefully still talking Sixers. From Mike Mataraki, Heel Chrome, Luke Brown, Greg Mwakovic, I'm Tom Arnone. Everybody out there, we thank you. We appreciate you. We're over 10K. Help us get to 20. If you haven't, pound that like, hit that subscribe, and turn those alerts on. 10-9-8, baby. Let's go. And Phils, stay hot for us.
Hey, hot.